across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, well, welcome to Talk. As you can see, it's all about me tonight. There's no one else here. It's me, me, me. So give me a ring, Zero. That's my name, don't we?
Cut him off.
Oh, you didn't hear any of that, did you?
Did he get on?
You didn't hear any of that, did you?
Look,
it's got your name underneath. Ash Gould. Please welcome Ash Gould. He's lost all his hair.
Can we get that off the screen as well?
No, leave it up there. Yeah, call that number, 03444991000.
That's not very nice, is it, that there?
Yeah.
Get that off the screen.
So call us now.
People would rather be watching us.
Bring the Dean in, Lady W. Let's see. Let's show the Dr. Rabbit.
Will you stop talking when I'm talking?
Sorry, man.
Not you.
What was it?
Me.
Oh, Lady W.
I'm completely confused.
Yeah, stop talking, Lady W.
I mean, do you want to have a go?
No.
Why not? Tell him what you do with him.
No.
Yeah, tell him how he wouldn't be allowed to.
He shouldn't talk to you like that.
I think he's a very nice man.
You don't know him, do you?
Can she move to the right? We can see half her face. Mind you, it's the same as the other half, isn't it? She's quite symmetrical.
Do you want to move him back a bit?
No, that's right. It's just right, man.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we can. Beautiful. Look at that.
Okay, good. Because yeah,
I'm not really meant to be here. I am just in my pajamas. Was on my way to bed.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not doing terribly well. I'm very sorry. I was coming in to sort everything out, and I just.
You couldn't be bothered.
I've got a hand shaking like mad, and.
Is the other one shaking?
All these marks coming up, I think.
Yeah. They are both shaky.
Yeah, they're both shaky.
Both shaky.
So,
well, it's all right. We do it down the line like we used to in COVID, when I was the only one brave enough to come into the whole station.
Yeah, and spreading it around everywhere. It's another reason I don't want to be
I like to spread it about a bit.
With you. You've been spreading it about, I hear.
Well, I always do.
But that's another story.
Exactly, man. So what's on your mind tonight? What do you want to talk about? I mean, there's so much, isn't there?
I want to make sure that I'm only going to be here for a short while tonight because I am not feeling too good.
Yeah.
I can't breathe. That's the problem. I have to keep going. But anybody who's not been given, you haven't given the warning out, you must do that.
Yeah, if you're under 18 or of nervous disposition, please leave the room now. Leave the telly on and make your excuses and leave now.
I think some of the stuff Kevin was saying, I was listening to it, and I thought, have we moved back into the 1980s?
Well, what was he talking about, man?
Just you're looking at me.
What was he saying?
It's nice. Look at me more lovingly. I like that. Sorry, what?
Yeah, that's better. What was he talking about that was so 1980s?
Well, it was just, the
Knight Rider.
Whole thing.
How much you like Spandau Ballet?
Yeah,
all that all right, stuff. Yeah.
But, we've got to sort this whole problem out. He was going on very wisely as well. And some people saying that this was, you couldn't say it. Now, I don't like racism. I find racism the most obnoxious thing going. But apparently, if you live in certain parts of the country, where? Midlands, is it? Or?
I don't know.
Well, where can't you get a job unless you happen to be
everywhere now. Well, we're talking about the BBC Northern Ireland story, aren't you? Their internship. No white people allowed. Yeah. No white people allowed. The other thing is I've got a tumour on my brain and I think it's affecting me occasionally. Well, the BBC in Northern Ireland have banned white people from applying to their training course, internship. Other businesses as well. I know a friend of mine, I won't go into it, who last year before, had to draw up a list of people that would be interviewed that she thought would be good prospects for a job that they had. And it was sent back with all the ones that sounded British being taken out.
No, that's not how it worked.
Isn't it?
No. Oh. They weren't allowed to have any names at all on the CVs, so she picked the best people using their CVs.
Oh, right, okay.
And then they came back to her and said, no, you can't have those. She didn't know.
Okay.
She had to...
Yeah, the only thing we want in Britain is the best people for the job. We don't want people coming here to freeload us, off us. We want people coming here because they think Britain is the best place to live. If you don't like what little culture we have left, and we don't have much left, if you don't like it, don't come here.
Well,
it's not a country you're going to be happy in.
It's officially institutionally racist then if it's banning white people, as are, you know, the police recently lost a court case because 2 white guys didn't get promoted and they were shown in court that was true. You know, so it's actually just racism.
So when is it going to stop?
We all thought it is terrible that what happened in the past was wrong, but it seems they're doing it again, just the other way around, which...
Can you sit closer so we can... Although I could hear you. But, yeah, you can't be... they're saying, like, be racist against the modern white people because of what their ancestors did. And hardly any of them did. Most of them were serfs and just worked in a field. Very few were slave owners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. You're speaking sense for 1 minute, which is good.
Really?
But unless we stop doing this... And then the BBC saying today, of course... you know, they found in Jerry Adams' favour in Northern Ireland about a libel case, which I won't go into too much, but he's won it.
Yeah, 80 grand.
And, you know, people are saying, well, it's the taxpayer, the licence fee payer that'll have to pay the tax or the fine, which is stupid. Make the management of the BBC, the bosses, pay. Take it out of their huge wages. Make them pay.
And Gary Lucifer, he can chip in a bit.
You can. You're absolutely right. Yeah. We are turning this country into a racist nation if we don't stop.
Well, it is racist against white people. I don't know why the law doesn't apply to white. In fact, all those girls that were raped, there was no racial aggravating part in the court cases when it obviously was, because they were calling them, white slags and things like that. This was quotes from the court. How can that not be a racist part of the court case? But there was no aggravated circumstance.
Yeah, we've got people in our judiciary, people in our police force, people in our politics, who are frightened of taking on this issue of slavery. Taking on this issue of colour and race. Yeah. And if we don't suddenly start to realise it is the most important thing to a lot of ordinary everyday Brits who just want to get on with their lives, get a job, have a home, make a bit of money, you know, not asking much. There are a few Brits that will get on TV all the time. They're the ones who go and vandalise places. They're the ones who have riots. But they are a minority of people, and none of us agree with them.
We were all getting on perfectly 25 years ago when there was no identity, you know, politics and all that. Now they've done that. Yeah. People are becoming racist because they're sick of it.
So 0344 499 1000, call us and tell us what you think. You know, I have absolutely nothing against. If I was Asian, or even if I wasn't, but if I ran a couple of Asian restaurants, I would want to have Asian chefs, and I would want to have Asian waiters in that restaurant for the authenticity. And I think that is the way it should go.
Well, you've got an Italian restaurant. Do you therefore have Italian chefs and waiters in your restaurant?
The best person for...
If you could answer the question.
What is the question?
Do you have Italian chefs and waiters in your Italian restaurant then, I presume?
I don't, because you can't get them. But then the only chef in my restaurant, and it's a long story, and I'm not going to go into it now. It's my son, one of my sons.
Oh, that's all right. It's nepotism.
Who married? Listen, shut up. Who married an Italian girl? I was thinking of your mouth. Who married an Italian girl, and they decided they'd call the restaurant the Italian Connection. So
available in Harrogate. Anyone listening?
Will you shut up?
Giving you a free advert. Giving you a free advert, man. But wait, no, it's too early. All right, but we'll go on a break. We can't because of all the processes. But we're going to also talk about what's the worst town in Britain.
You can't look what's the worst one?
Town.
It's town in Britain.
Oh well, I'll tell you when we come back from the break in a minute. But going back to the names of restaurants,
10 minutes.
It shouldn't have anything to do. Just because you have a restaurant that's Greek or Turkish or Italian or Spanish or American or whatever, you know, you have to have somebody who can do the job better than somebody else. I haven't yet found, I better be careful because I can think of one person. I've never found anybody who cooks better curry than the people who come from a country where that is the indigenous food.
Bangladesh, isn't it? That's where the best chefs are.
Most of Bangladesh.
And they speak that in the kitchen. The English is no good in the kitchen.
And as you know, I was one of the first people to be involved.
I think that there could be people of all nationalities who've travelled to Bangladesh and learned how to cook that way and can still cook.
Never tastes the same, though.
the job, not based on what race.
I think you're right, actually.
A call's flooded in for you, James. A call's flooded in for you. Steve in Leicestershire.
What?
Steve.
Steve. Callers.
Is that you, James?
Well, you'll never get any calls when you're on.
Yes, it's me, Steve, yes.
Oh, is that you, James, or is it you, Ash?
Yes, it's me, James.
Ignore him, he's a prat.
Get on with it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But what I just got back from the pub, I had about 4 or 5 pints. That's nothing. To say, I may have a bit more than that.
Anyway, to the point.
You're drunk.
Get to the point, James. I remember listening to you 20-odd, 30-odd years ago on talkTV.
Do you want a medal or something?
Sports.
Yeah. It wasn't Talk Sport, it was Talk Radio.
No, it's definitely Talk Sport in them days.
Hold on.
30 years ago it wasn't.
For God's sake. Shut the flipping heck up a minute before I get
just being factual.
Ash. Ash.
Well, it's 30
I don't need you in the studio. Go.
Talk
You're
radio.
a pain in the bum.
Talk Radio.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, he worked with me for about 25 years.
Yeah,
anyway,
all I wanted to do, because I've had a few beers now and all that, and I all I'm saying is Talk TV, Talk Radio has kept me sane over the last maybe 10 years.
And if I hadn't known that that's what you were going to say, I wouldn't have let you on having 4 pints. But I knew you were going to be very, very, very polite and very nice. Thank you very much indeed. Right, if you want to come on and flood in, I've never said that before.
We've got loads already, yeah.
You got a second call, have you?
Yeah, well, they're all like, if they could be quicker on their fingers. But he said he'd been saying for 10 years, he'd been listening for 30, so obviously it didn't help him for 20 years,
Why do you pick up on the boring things that no...
Well, I thought that was an interesting point. He'd only been sane for 2... We're getting someone up. I'm just filling a bit, because we've got Robbie, Heather, Graham and Doreen.
I listened to another station the other day, and they don't take phone calls, thank goodness, because they don't do anything very well. Everything goes, they lose their emails, they can't think what to reply, and then they start being nice to the people who are phoning in, even though the people sound they should be listening to a BBC local radio. Let's get on with it. Come on.
Do you want Bobby in Glasgow or Doreen in Worcestershire? Or both?
Bobby in Glasgow and then Doreen.
Bobby, here. You sitting a bit of the tin, Bobby?
I hadn't a clue what you just said, but if you were speaking Glaswegian, somebody's voice...
Robbie.
It is getting very close to the end of your contract.
He's there. Robbie's there. Speak to James Wales.
And if you put an S on my name again, you go.
All right, James.
Hi.
Yeah. Just with immigration. I don't have a problem with legal immigration, but it's just these people come across in the boats are just getting out of control. And I don't think Stammer's got...
Hang on, what do you mean this is what you've been told? What are you talking about?
People on the boats are out of control.
Oh, what?
Immigration.
The boat is out of control.
Well, immigration, legally and illegally, is out of control.
Yeah.
2 people are coming to this country to work. We don't have enough jobs. And we're now saying to those people born and bred in this country, you can't apply for a job first. We've got to give it to people who've come from others. But yeah, go on. What is your... Listen, I'm only interested, right, if you have got a remedy for the problem we're in. I have. It's very easy.
Yeah.
We put the Navy in the Channel, we get hard with France, and we say we cannot take any. We're a small island. We are swamped with people who may well be here to do us harm. We have to put a stop...
How are you? Yes. Yeah, don't have a problem with legal immigration at all, but I think...
I do, because it's too easy to bring your whole family in for no reason.
That's it. But I think the problem is we need to stop the illegal immigration before we do anything else with the legal immigration. I think that is the main problem here. There's too many people coming to...
So what is your answer? You're telling us something we know. What is your answer?
I don't know. I think we're just going to stop... Immigration needs to be controlled, and it's not being controlled at the moment. That's the problem.
Well, what I'm asking you... You're in Parliament, you get elected. These people in Parliament are no cleverer than you. In fact, many people I've met are completely stupid.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do if you suddenly found yourself in power?
Engage the Royal Navy. The way we've got a Royal Navy, let's stop the...
So you agree more or less with what I've said, but you have to come up with a plan.
Thanks,
Robbie.
Robbie.
The plan has to be workable And the plan has to appear, I'm afraid, to the rest of the world that we haven't gone racially mad. And that's the problem. We are likely to look like we are just a bunch of racists.
No one believes that anymore, especially after that Lord Hermer thing where he had to apologise for calling people Nazis just for saying international law. Anyway, Doreen's flooded in from Worcestershire.
Doreen, how are you? Good evening.
Oh, James, it's so good to see you. Really,
well, I take that for granted, Doreen. Now, what can I do for you?
No, the other thing I'm ringing for is Ash. Are you going to do the programme on your own, Ash? Tonight?
No, I think Andre's coming in. I think Andrew he will be in. You know, there's a whole smorgasbord.
Sorry, hang on. I missed that. I was thinking of things I shouldn't have been. What did you say?
I just said I cannot watch Andre. I thought you were going to do it on your own, Ash. So
no,
have a
sorry
good
about
day.
that.
I'm trying to get rid of Ash. Yeah. If you could help me get Ash somewhere else, take him off the bloody screen.
No, leave me on.
Every time I mention his name, you put him up on the screen. When I say Ash, say put Nadine's face on the screen, and you can call her Ashdeen.
Yes, that's fine. You and Ash together are brilliant. Ash.
No, you're doing it. You're making it worse again. You see what you're doing,
Andre.
Thank you for your call. Bye bye.
You'll be very hurt. But look, I've got a special guest.
Oh, she's been nice.
I've got
she was being very rude about
a special guest. I've got a special guest for you.
Well, would you want to be nice about a man that normally you say, "What's that scruffy oik? Why doesn't he get a haircut?"
Yeah.
All the time, every time. You wake me up when we're ready. Who's that scruffy?
Stop the domestic. I've got a special guest for you. It's Mark French. Hi, Mark. Or Francois, if you're in France. How you doing, man? Look, say hello to James Wales. He's there. Look.
Hello, Marky. How are you?
I'm very well, James. It's really great to see you. It's good
Mark,
to talk to you, old
friend. It's
friend.
great to see you. Can I just take back everything I said about every MP? Because there are some like you who actually are doing a bloody good job.
Well, coming from you, that's a great compliment. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Let me ask you the question that everybody asks me. We are becoming swamped with cultures and people from countries that are trying to take over. This is the best nation because you can do almost anything you want here. That's why people have come. And they think that the people, in politics will do nothing, which is what it looks like. When are politicians going to get a hold?
Well, look, James, it's a topical question. And I declare an interest because I think because you've interviewed me about it before, my late father, Reginald Francois, was a D-Day veteran. He fought the Nazis. And so after what Lord Hermer said, when he basically inferred that anyone who believed we should leave the European Convention on Human Rights was a Nazi, I have to say that is despicable, and I use the word deliberately, and it should be something that we can debate democratically in this country without him having to make allusions to Nazism. I understand he's made a sort of apology, but a man in his position, the senior law officer of the government, should never ever have been using language like that in the blooming first place.
No. I couldn't agree more. And what I can't understand, though, I agree totally with what you said, but why are the government not moving on? The government are useless. It looks like we need to have another election because they're going to kill this country if they carry on the way they are. And because of our ridiculous legal procedures, they've got over 400 people now in Parliament.
James, I've been an MP now for 24 years, so I've seen several different administrations come and go. But I have never in that time seen an incoming government of any colour, nosedive as fast as this. If you look at Blair in 97, in his first parliament for 4 years, other than that time, he got into a row with a WI famously and got slow hand clapped. Pretty much in his first parliament, he didn't have too many howlers, the exception to that being the Human Rights Act. And I've never seen a government make so many cock-ups, if you'll forgive the French, in a year as this one. And part of the problem and it's fundamental to what we were just talking about and to the boats, is, you know, Starmer is a human rights lawyer to his DNA. So is Herma. So are a number of other members of the government. And they regard the Human Rights Act and the European Convention on Human Rights that lays behind it as almost sort of biblical holy writ. In their world, nothing can be allowed to challenge this legislation. It carries all before it.
But you lot let a million a year in. You lot let a million a year under Boris. So what are you talking about?
Ash, how do we mark? You are a very brave man, because
thank you.
Very few politicians are prepared to put themselves where you are and answer questions. But the question answers still don't seem to come. There has got to be something done. And you could say more dangerously done about legal people coming to this country, because we have got ourselves in a situation which is going to be very, very difficult to get out of.
Well, James, you're talking to someone, and Ash, I'll try and respond to your question. You know, you're talking to someone who fought a grueling general election campaign with absolutely no warning for 6 weeks. And don't take this the wrong way, but anything that you put to me in the next few minutes pales into insignificance compared to what I got to my face on the doorstep over those 6 weeks. So if I say to you, I'm absolutely well aware about people's strong feelings on immigration, both so-called legal and illegal immigration, I'm really not hamming it up. I got it at, you know, very close range for a month and a half. Yes, we should have done more to control immigration. But it is one of the problems in doing that. This is not an excuse, but it is a practical challenge, is certainly with regards to illegal immigration. The European Convention on Human Rights makes it incredibly difficult to do that. We had the Rwanda plan. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But it's one more plan than Labour have got.
So why don't we pull out of
about Albania the other day? The Albanian president in a press conference slapped Starmer down.
But that's a red herring, because 1 million were legal immigrants, weren't they, under Boris? The Boris wave, which was unheard of, was 1 million a year.
Yeah, but that was a cock-up.
Ash, in fairness, I did mention both legal and illegal immigration.
But why did you let 1 million in? I mean, that's ridiculous.
But hang on, we can't sort that out now, Ash, don't be silly. But why can't we make a move against the French doing what they're doing? Today, they were instrumental in putting some of their people illegally into fishing in British waters. We said nothing. We've done nothing. We seem to let them do whatever they want. We pay them a fortune. They can't, I know, to be honest, they can't stop people coming here. But maybe if we got together to stop them, and excuse me, hiccups is one of the side effects of my cancer. If we got together and said we cannot continue like this, the world is going to become so unfair that there are going to be major problems all over. You know, we haven't thought about Austria, Germany, and Denmark, and smaller European countries that are becoming very over Middle Easternized, if you want. And nobody seems to be taking it very seriously. People are looking in the political field, are looking for an excuse. Oh, it's not that bad. No, we want to do this. It's going to get worse, because it's turning people who are not racist, who are not fascist, far right, whatever. It's turning those people into people who look as if they are. The government has got to start, whoever's in, people at the moment, because Nigel Farage, love him or hate him, is making people think and talk about it, and that is a good thing.
Poland sorted it out in Hungary. Why don't we just do what they did? Shut the borders.
We could shut the borders. We could start tightening up some of the rules and regulations that we could easily now get out of because of leaving the European Union. We've never properly left it, so now maybe is the time that we should.
But Poland are in it, and they've sorted it out anyway.
Well, I was in Poland just a few weeks ago, and they are. It's like visiting a different planet, Ash. Not just in terms of immigration, but the official policy of the Polish government is that they are now undergoing a massive rearmament program to be ready to fight if necessary. They'd rather deter it but if necessary, to fight a war with Russia within 3 years. Back home, we can't even publish a defence review.
Exactly.
So Poland is like visiting in a number of respects. It's a very different country. But James, your point about immigration is well made. Look, we live in a free society, or at least we're meant to. And if we cannot debate peacefully and democratically what the right level of immigration should be, if we say to people, oh, tish, 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 we really shouldn't be talking about that, that's a bit impolite, all you will do is you will build up gigantic frustration. It is far better to have a proper grown-up debate about it, which I hope we're doing a little bit of that now, and allow people to air their views in a proper, peaceful, democratic way than try and suppress it. And I fear that this government isn't just telling people what they can and can't say, it's almost now telling people what they can and can't think, which brings me back to where I came in. If you think we should leave the ECHR, it's inferred you're a Nazi. I mean, what kind of democracy is that?
Listen, mate, I'm going to have to go to bed because I know I look ridiculously well, but I don't feel too good. Otherwise, I would have been there. And hopefully I'll get better before long, or I won't. But I'm in that phase now where, I've had a good innings, as they say, since I got cancer for the second time. And I'm not bowing out, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be on for a bit more. And
James, just before you go, because I realise you're tired. Look, in all seriousness, it's been a privilege to appear on your show down the years. You've always let me answer the question, which not all broadcasters have always done. And I honestly hope that you will be at the to continue your analogy, you'll be at the crease for a little while yet. Go well, my man.
I hope I will. Thank you very much indeed. But if I don't, I'm relying on you and people like you to sort this problem out.
Yes, Mark.
Thanks, Ash. Good night, James.
Nighty night.
Francois, thank you very much indeed. Ash, behave yourself.
So you're going off now? Are you Mrs. W?
I'm going off now because I am finding it very difficult
to
get breaths while we're talking. You can hear that a bit, yeah. But I would like to stay longer, and I want to come back into the studio as soon as possible.
Well, yeah, let's get you in.
And I've also got Radley the dog snoring in one ear. I don't know if you can hear it, but...
Yeah. Where's Mulberry? Is he there? Can you move the camera? Show the dog the dog.
Oh, down here. She's there.
Right.
Up here.
I thought, you can see his paw. Yeah. There we go. Look at him. Oh, look, Mulberry. Oh.
Well, that's Radley.
That's Radley.
Wow, they don't know what their name is.
That's Radley, yeah. But
Radley.
Mulberry is down here.
Oh yeah, Mulberry.
And they get a bit miserable. Yeah. All right, guys. Listen, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, man.
Nice to talk to you, and
nice to see you,
thank
Bubba.
you to the most amazing lady in the world.
That's all right. No, anytime you want.
She says I wouldn't be. I tell you one thing. Right. I have no idea how old, elderly, decrepit people like me manage without somebody to look after them, because I wouldn't be here now. Yeah. I mean, she knows the name of the drugs I'm on. She knows when I should take them.
Marijuana.
You're amazing. I'm supposed to say you're amazing, not you.
Thank you, man. That's very kind of you.
All right. And then we've got you, which occasionally is okay, and the amazing Chuck.
That's right, man.
Good. All right, guys. Have a lovely weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, James. That's James Wales. He'll be back next week. Caterie's Parables 0344 499 1000 if you want to ring us. What's the worst town in Britain? We're also talking about Starmer, the Chagos deal, Farage, and the Project Fear too. But anyway, give us a ring 0344 499 1000. We've got Chloe Dobbs coming in, and of course Andre Walker. We'll be back in about a minute and a half.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
What a kerfuffle. We're just moving around the scenery. Please bear with us. But anyway, look, it's... he's got to put his mic... Oh, you want to plug his mic? See, this is how it's... where's your little box thing? Anyway, you're watching the James Wales show. It's me and Andre in for James. Right, you're going to have to put the mic down, actually, because... Oh, look at this.
He was like
I don't think anyone's noticed. I don't think anyone's noticed. There you go.
I plugged in. I'm attached.
There you go. Right. We'll edit this out. We'll edit this out then.
Hello. Well, it was great to hear James Whale and Mark Francois, wasn't it?
It was great to see Penfold and James Wales on.
Penfold.
Yeah, he does look like Penfold.
Why are you filming there?
Oh yeah, no, I shouldn't be. We were doing a trail, so.
All right. Okay. Great.
Worry. Yeah, let's get
right.
on
I'll tell you what. Why don't we introduce our guest co-host, who is Chloe
He has
Dobbs.
to look up your name. He's forgotten.
I always forget people's names. You never noticed that?
I've noticed. I think the first 5 times I came, I got a different name each time.
Did you?
Yeah.
How are you, Susan? Hey!
I think I've been Louise before.
Have you?
Yeah.
I like that, Louise.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, tonight.
Well, look, let's
Today I'm Chloe.
Let's reflect on what James Whale was saying. Really, really simple about the fact that BBC Northern Ireland has advertised for a job. Whites need not apply. What do you think?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that even legal? I mean, I know that Westminster Council put up this job where they said if we have 2 candidates that are of equal merit, we will choose the one that is from the BAME community or global majority.
But white is the actual ethnic minority in Westminster. That's the irony of it. In Westminster, whites are the ethnic minority.
Without a doubt.
Exactly. So on the DEI schemes... But is this even legal?
I think in training courses it's legal.
Racism.
I think because it's an internship.
Yeah, it's an internship. Any loophole they can to fill...
Institutionally racist. It's official. It's officially.
It literally is. And
see, I was out and about today. I was out and about today, and there was all the security on the at the ticket barriers. Obviously, once again...
You got arrested?
No, I don't know, but let's talk about Robert Jenrick from yesterday, and I appreciate it was a big issue yesterday, and nothing's really happened today. I think it's racism. And I think that what people think is that if you're black or Asian, you are allowed to fur dodge. If you are white, they come down you like a ton of bricks, because the people that I've seen pushing through the barrier seem to be from ethnic minority backgrounds. Now, I personally, I've been fined for fur dodging. I contend it was a mistake, but we've had people in the gallery who've been fined. No, but it's
a lot of wrong uns in there.
But it's always been. It seems to be white people now. Okay, I don't know if that is paranoia. I don't know if it's stupidity on my part. I don't know if I'm being unfair. But time and time again, this story about fur dodging people believe that white people have to pay the furs and black people do not have to pay the furs.
I think that it's often a case, as with many other crimes like shoplifting and whatnot, that people who have coloured skin get away with it because people, whether it's the security guards, whether it's the TfL staff or whatever, they aren't willing to take a gamble and intervene because they think, well, I'm here on this minimum wage or close to minimum wage job. I might lose it and end up being called a racist.
I think they're told not to, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, apparently some of these TfL staff are told not to intervene. Well, I mean, and I kind of understand why they're told in their training. Is a lot of the times when I see it happen, it is gangs pushing, very clearly gangs, all pushing their way through the barriers one after another. Quite high likelihood one of them is going to have a knife. In fact, we saw in Jenrick's video, it sounded like one of the guys had.
There were white guys as well in that, and there are discreet looking white guys.
So I can understand why they may be told in their training it's not worth it just to get free quid off of them. You might get stabbed.
But why is it worth having the ticket inspectors? Because you know what? I'm not going to push through the barrier anyway. So if you're not willing to intervene with people who are wrong-uns, then all you are doing is you are paying people to abuse the legitimate people.
Yeah, I mean, they usually have somebody there, but that person normally fulfills the job of helping an idiot tourist who can't figure out how to tap their contactless on the thing, or someone who's got an actual train ticket can't figure out how to scan it and get through the barrier. And that's all they really do. They don't really act as security, but...
Oh, but they will if you do. They will if you've got a problem. They will if you have a problem. They will if you have a problem. The lack of security, if you have a problem, believe me.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think there are often, as I said, there are often gangs who are operating. A lot of the people who you say, people of colour, people from ethnic minorities will get away with it. It is often the case that you have got gangs. You are, let's be honest, most gangs in London are black individuals.
Yes.
They will go through the barriers, as I say, and you worried they might have a knife on them. Should I intervene? Whereas if, Chloe walks through the barrier, are they going to look at me and go, oh, I bet she's got a knife on her?
I see. So they're basically saying, don't worry, it's safe to have a go at the white people.
It's safe to have a go at me because do I look like someone who's carrying a knife? Whereas, some road man in his, big black puffer jacket, face covered
or
and everything.
Or a group of
looks
white
like
kids, dodgy white kids as well. You get gangs, but, in the main stabbing is black kids against other black kids in London.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, that, knife crime is a tradition in Africa. Right, and people, and when you talk about cultural enrichment, machete culture is part of. I mean, the Rwandan genocide was done by machete. There are cultural that we have been culturally enriched, if you like, with things like commitments to electoral fraud. We've been culturally enriched by subjugation of women. We've been culturally enriched by acid attacks.
FGM.
Now we've also been culturally enriched by some positive things. I mean, I don't think of a massive number of them. Everyone always talks about food. Well, we've got the recipes now. But anyway, but look, we have been. But you have to say, if our aim in creating a multicultural society is to bring in the culture of other countries, there isn't a culture of paying for public transport in Nigeria, right? So
now that's brought here from other countries.
So one would suggest that you've been culturally enriched with that.
There's no queues at bus stops anymore.
Yes, so I mean, a couple of things I would say.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Well, that's cultural.
So first of all, those of us who are born in Britain in a good household with good parents, we are typically taught by our parents committing a crime is morally wrong. You do not do that. Whereas you go to other countries where, I was in Syria, there is no government, there is no police force really, there are no laws, and so crime is just the norm. That's just how you operate. Gangs running around the place, that's just survival. And so it's no surprise that when people come to this country that's the case. There are a lot of these kids bumping through the barriers who have grown up in Britain. They haven't arrived here from another country, but they still seem to just be
Rudy Cabana was born here, but his dad was from Rwanda.
Yeah, and whether that comes from the parents or just poor policing, poor parenting and whatnot.
Well, it was poor parenting because he knew his son was going to cause trouble.
Gangs with machetes.
He knew his son was going to go and stab people at school and told the cab driver to go away and didn't inform the authorities, which led to what happened. So I'd hold them responsible.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, why don't we go to a break now, because I think we missed one earlier, didn't we, because we let James talk to Mark Francois. We'll be back in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is Talk, and this is Andre Walker in for James Whale. James Whale was on earlier, just in case those of you who've just tuned in, obviously here with Asher Gould. And what we're going to be doing from now on, we don't know how often James Whale's going to come back into the studio, but we will always put him on if he's well enough to come on. If you see
and behaving himself.
Now that may be he only does 5 minutes at the beginning. It may be he does half an hour. It may be he does even longer than that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll come into the studio. But we're not sure that's going to happen. So we've got Chloe Dobbs, who's our guest co-host. We're going to talk about throughout the show the worst town in the country. What is the worst town in the country, do you reckon?
I would say a place that a lot of people probably haven't heard of, which is Parr, which is the town next to where I went to school. I think when I was at school, it had the highest teenage pregnancy rate in Europe.
So why is Parr below par?
Parr is below par because let's just paint a picture. Everyone there, they grow up with the whole family. They never leave.
They grow up with a family. Well, that's unusual in modern Britain.
That's quite good, isn't it?
They're all single mums, but their cousins, their aunties, their uncles, the cousins that they probably married.
Community where people are related to each other.
Yes, they've all got webbed feet. The only thing there is a spa shop. It's one of the most deprived areas in the town. So all the kids do is they go sit in the park, smoke weed, make children at age 16, live on benefits, no aspiration. It is the most dull place.
Oh no!
Is there crime? No, there's no crime. Sounds all right. Everyone knows everyone, so at least you've got a join there. There's no.
I can't believe it. Chloe Dobbs going. They're all related to each other. Well, that's what used to happen in Britain. Communities used to have relatives living locally.
That's the problem with Britain is we don't have that.
Mrs. Umbutu from
But what I mean is these kids, they have no aspiration to leave this place and get any job. Okay, if they go and they move to London or wherever and get a job, make some money and then come back home to look after grandma when they're older, fine. But these people live off the state. But
it never used to happen. Why has it happened? Because I'm sure the people of Parr used to be hard-working country bumpkins.
I'm not sure if they ever were, to be honest. I get the impression there that it's just generations and generations of people who just sit in council houses, smoke. I mean, when I went over to friends' houses for dinner or whatever, it was always chicken nuggets and chips. The mum's smoking over the chicken nuggets and chips as she's making
Giving that smoky flavour. No.
Yeah, and then passing that on to the children.
Delicious.
And honestly,
what's wrong with all that? Sounds paradise.
I went to school with these people, and when I
went to school with these people. Oh my God!
Which part were you from?
It was good fun though, because I mean, it was just. It was like
smoking poor quality fags and eating chicken nuggets.
Honestly, at the age of 13, I feel like I was one of the only people in my year that wasn't smoking.
But it sounds like a nice.
But they were all smoking and getting pregnant.
I must admit, I've got some sympathy with this because my dad now lives in a village called Gould, which is an old mining village, and it's on the up. It's going to get a new train station, but it's fair to say that it's had some rough times. And when you drove down one of the roads God, this awful thing we used to call it Gyro City, but in the council estate, you used to see. The Junior Smokers Club did graduate into the Junior Mums Club relatively quickly.
But you don't get many
teenagers.
They smoked
whilst they were pregnant with
you don't really get teenage mothers anymore like you used to. Do you remember when we were younger, it was all the rage at 15, have a kid, get a house. And now girls are 15, I don't know if it's because they're on TikTok, but they don't really do that apart from in Parr.
The town that I grew up used to have more pregnant teenagers than it had ethnic minorities.
But it's not like that now though, is it?
It's very much not like that. Well, in fact, the village that I grew up in, I will tell you, and I'm not saying this is a racist comment at all.
Prepare for a racist comment.
This is genuinely true. There were two non-white families. There was the Bhattacharya family, where she was the doctor, and there was, I don't know the others. No, Pete Woo-sang, and he owned the chippy. But his name was not Wu-Sang, that was the name of the chippy. His name.
Stage name.
But the Chinese family owned the chippy, the Indian family were the doctors, and there was one black kid who was adopted, and that was the sum total.
No, it was the same in Cornwall. There's pretty much no immigration there, but Parr is in Cornwall. I realised I didn't clarify that, next to the town that I lived in.
Oh, well, that's quite traditional, the families.
And in my school of 1,000
Did anyone
pupils...
go, "War"?
In my school of 1,000 pupils, I think there are only 1 or 2 kids of colour. I mean, it's very English there, but now in Cornwall, they've got a bunch of migrant hotels popping up now, which is causing absolute havoc. And apparently there have been some rapes and whatnot. And so a place that was already very much...
Keep it light. This was meant to be a
cultural enrichment.
Segment.
Yeah, they've added some cultural enrichment.
I don't like Cornwall because it's full of rapists. Well, don't say that.
Yeah, what's your worst towns? Give us a ring, 03444991000. I remember the Southwest about 20 years ago. They'd go, what is it with the Southwest? There's stabbings everywhere, but the Southwest hasn't got it. But now you've all got the stabbings and everything.
But everyone thinks that Cornwall is some sort of paradise.
It used to be better.
Oh, I've been on holiday there. Yeah, you've been to St Ives Beach. You haven't seen the rest of it. You don't want to.
It's full of smugglers.
I'll tell you what. Yesterday, somebody said to me that they reckon the worst town in the UK was Lydd in Kent. I've never heard of it. And Lydd, apparently, LYDD, apparently has its own international airport with no international flights.
Slough. Slough's got a nomination.
I like Slough.
Betjeman said, "Come bombs fall on Slough," didn't he, in his poem?
In the words of David Brent, you're not going to improve town planning through terrorism.
No. Birmingham, of course, it's got rats the size of donkeys there, and apparently they're wearing biker jackets now, so it's getting really out of hand.
I have to be honest, the number of people who say that the Midlands has been destroyed by uncontrolled immigration, the number of people who say that, where they go, oh, my area used to be nice. Because it's amazing, because, I mean, if we were talking about the worst places to live 20 years ago, it would be people having a go at their own area, wouldn't it? But tonight it's going to be people saying, oh my God, my town X used to be fantastic and now it's a dump.
Or I don't live there anymore. You know, I went to visit and I couldn't believe. I mean, I read a thing about Erdington in Birmingham, which is where, you know, the government moved so many people with mental illnesses and it's just crazy out there now, you know, and hardly any people who were from there.
Yeah, well, I have to say,
dangerous enough before.
My dad's from Morecambe. That's a real winner.
Morecambe.
The Cockles.
It's like Blackpool, only not as good.
It's like the poor man's Blackpool. It's got a statue of Eric Morecambe there, hasn't it? Even though he wasn't from there.
What's amazing about the statue of Eric Morecambe is that it's not been stolen for metal. Yeah, it's because
that's true,
because that is. I mean, honestly,
probably will be tonight.
Talking of horrible things, you are not going to believe this. This is awful. Warrington. It had its memorial to Jonathan Ball and Tim Parry,
the IRA
blown
bomb,
up in the bomb.
I remember that.
It was stolen and melted for scrap. The memorial to a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old who were murdered by the IRA. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
By the way, there used to be a website called Chavtowns, and when I worked in Parliament, I put the House of Lords on it. Oh, no, I did. Do you remember the 99ers? Do you remember in 1999, Tony Blair raided the Working Men's Club of Northern England to find a load of new people to be in the House of Lords? They literally had the children of members of the House of Lords shoplifting in the shop, right, at the House of Lords. I'm not joking. And then they had, they were all like, I don't know what Ash is doing, but I'm struggling now. They're all like sort of, all right, cock, all right, all these members of House of Bloody Lords, bloody great, getting a peerage, bloody fantastic. Okay, let's go to Pat in London. Pat, you're on Talk.
Oh, good evening, Andre. Yeah, I might have spoke to you quite a while ago about where I live in Tower Hamlets. Right. You know, just off Commercial Road. Now, I'm trying to, as they say, big it up, because where I live, the Bengali people around here are very, very nice people.
Yes.
And on my estate, I don't have any problems whatsoever. It's got a lot of green space, a lot of trees, a lot of nice, you know. I live not far from Stepney Green, Stepney Way, and I just live off the Commercial Road. I don't know if you know it, the Troxy.
Yeah, I do. I used to live off Narrow Street on Ropemakers Fields.
Yeah. That's only about 15
it is.
minutes down the road from me.
Yeah.
You know, and there's lots of. Obviously, Tower Hamlets is a big area. Not all of Tower Hamlets might be a nice place to live, but where I am here I think is a nice place to live.
There's no Cockney culture, though. It's ethnically cleansed of Cockneys, apart from you, Pat.
There's a few.
Well, a few, like a museum.
But for me, the sort of Jewish East End, the Cockney East End, has gone, and the East End, to me, if I was to think of an East Ender now, I would think of somebody from Bangladesh. And I'm not joking. I mean, that is the heart and soul of the East End. Apart from Canary Wharf, which, I mean, it's not really the East End, and has never really been considered the East End. But for me, it's Bangladesh, or it's Bengali.
I mean, like, there are a few sort of like elderly Bengalis, and maybe a few bit young that live around there when my mum and dad was alive, and they know me through my mum and how are you and all this.
But they were the minority then, and it was a British culture. Now it's the other way around.
But they're very, like, there's not a lot of problems on my estate or on the area.
Yeah, because
where I live.
but my point is, you're not slagging off the Bengalis, and neither am I. I mean, I'm good mates with loads of top people in that community, because I go to the Curry Eater Awards. But just because you're not slagging them off doesn't mean that you can't say that society has changed. I lament the fact that Cockneys no longer exist, and I lament the fact that if you want to talk about Bangladeshi culture, if you want to talk about Cockney culture or East End culture, you have to talk about Bangladesh nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, but as I say, I've lived around here since I was like nearly 5. I lived around here all my life, and
you're like a boiled frog, you just haven't noticed. You get someone, if you'd have left when you were 5 and come back now, you go, I don't recognise it.
I have to say that it's not a bad little area I live, and apart, one saving grace as well is around about trick or treat time, where I don't get no people coming knocking on my door.
Yeah, okay. By the way, as somebody has said that Lyd is great, its airport was often used for large raves. And I went to the final World Dance there, Matt, in Hove. Somebody else has said the worst town in the UK is Sunderland. Anyway, it's not because that's not just because I'm a Geordie. It's like Beirut with shell suits, Martin, in Whitley Bay.
Hey, man.
I went to Whitley Bay. My dad used to work in Newcastle, and outside the hotel there was a drunken fight. Now, my mum said to me, do not go back to school and say that your dad took you on holiday to somewhere where there were drunken brawls outside the hotel. Anyway, it wasn't really a holiday.
It's their culture.
But they've said to us we've got to talk about a news story with you, Chloe.
Okay.
So which one do you want to talk about?
Oh, which one should we talk about?
I don't care.
Spin the wheel, the wheel of news.
Let's talk about the Pakistani drug dealer who's allowed to stay in Britain, because I love these stories. Every day there is a new story of someone who can't be deported because of ECHR, Article 8.
What was the reason?
So this guy, I think he's got 21 offences. He is a prolific drug dealer, but apparently he's such a great guy that we need to keep him in the country because he's such a great role model to his kid. Because the mother says that he can teach the son about how to get jobs and whatnot, like being a drug dealer, and also because he is enriched the young boy's life so much by teaching him about Pakistani culture, which means that he must stay in Britain. I'm sorry, if the son loves learning about Pakistani culture so much, why don't you just take him with him, deport you, the son can go as well. Why should we have to keep more and more criminals in this country? That should be gone. It should be easy.
That's amazing.
21 convictions, not
so
just
the guy
one.
arrives on a visa which he's broken, so he's an illegal alien in reality, isn't he? Because if you arrive on a visa, I would suggest that one of the terms and conditions of the visa is don't be a drug dealer, or whether explicit or implicit. But now we've got the anchor baby born in the UK, and now in order to ensure that baby is brought up as a proper Pakistani, we've got to keep them both in the United Kingdom.
Yes, apparently.
21 offences.
It is so important that we must enrich the children of this country with Pakistani
But how many children's lives has he ruined
when
he was a drug dealer?
British culture. That doesn't matter. But he's got to learn about Pakistani
But why can't he say, I mean, if Pakistani culture is so brilliant, if Pakistan is so marvellous, why not go there?
Exactly, I mean, and take the son with you.
I can teach you all about Pakistan. It's a dump. There we go. There endeth the lesson. It is a dump. And people can complain. But if you come from Pakistan, you've got to believe that Pakistan is crap. Otherwise, stay in Pakistan. It's obvious, isn't it?
But they're allowed to make it here by our authorities.
But the reason why I say what I've just said is because if I loved Pakistan, I would go to Pakistan. It's implicit within what ought to be the rules of this country, that if you want to be in this country, you ought to want to be in this country.
Yeah, you ought to love it and abide by our laws. This guy clearly does neither. And quite rightly, people like me and all our listeners and people across this country will be absolutely furious to hear that yet again, ECHR Article 8 is being used to allow a criminal to stay in this country. But apparently, that makes us Nazis, according to Lord Hermer.
Let me just say this to you, and I'll drive this point home even further. If you think Pakistan is marvellous, go to Pakistan. And let me tell you something. Pakistan is full of people who think Pakistan is marvellous. Britain has certain parts of it that are still filled with people who believe in Britain and want to be British. I just think immigration has to be about wanting to be part of the community that you're moving to, or at least it has to be part of it. This cultural enrichment thing has been a disaster for Britain.
I mean, maybe they don't go back to Pakistan because now they think, you know what, Birmingham is Pakistan. So
well, exactly, it's our government's fault saying if you want to be Pakistan, you can have it here anyway.
By the way, can I tell you about I'll tell you later, after the break, about the red-necked Himalayan parakeets. And I'll tell you why. Because...
Where is this going?
It's a really interesting story about the fact that they've come over from Pakistan, they've been released in the UK, and now they're starting to take over all of the homes that were previously held by blue tits and starlings, and slowly but surely indigenous birds in London are being removed from London and being replaced by Pakistani birds. Now, when I watched this programme on ITV, it was really interesting. They had a sensible debate about immigration, because, of course, if this was humans, they'd say, well, it doesn't matter that all the indigenous birds are gone, does it? As long as those red-necked parakeets were born in Britain, that makes them British, therefore we should
they look great, but they sound horrible, those things.
OK, we'll be back in a moment. 0344 499 1000, back in a second.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is James Whale Unleashed. We're just going to explain this, and just for people who tuned in, that James is off ill, and we're expecting him to be off ill, at least to some extent, for most of the rest of the shows during his life. Obviously, he's been quite open about his illness with cancer, but we're always going to bring him onto the show if we can. So if he comes on for 5 minutes, he comes on for 5 minutes. If he comes on for half an hour, like he did today, and even, we are hoping that maybe he'll come back to the office at some point. I don't think we're not very positive.
Well, no, you don't know. You know, he can suddenly, because people have seen him ill before, and he gets better. It's sometimes going waves. So you know, you never know. You never know.
That is a very good point. That's a very good point.
Thanks, man.
Now, okay, what we are talking about, the worst towns in Britain. Yes. Well, can you give us a place we've heard of? Because, I mean...
Merthyr Tydfil, you see, I think, you know, we talk about the big cities, but the worst places are little towns. Like I've seen...
Wait, Liskeard?
No, Liskeard.
How's it spelled?
Liskeard, yeah.
L-I-S...
That's down your end, isn't it?
K-E-A-R-D.
That was right next to me. That was right, another place right next to me.
Brilliant.
Another terrible Cornish place. There is nothing in Liskeard except like a NatWest that is falling down and a couple of charity shops.
Hang on, it's got a bank.
Yeah, you got a bank.
It's got a good Indian takeaway. That's the only
all
reason.
you need, a bank and a takeaway.
The only reason you go to Liskeard is to go to the Indian takeaway or to go to Morrison's, and that is it.
And the Morrison's as well. This place sounds amazing.
And there are so many of these towns in Cornwall where that is... Honestly, that was my excitement as a child, was we're going to go to do the weekly shop at Morrison's and I get to look up and down all the aisles. And that's my fun for the week, because that's all there is to do in these places in Cornwall.
You're not going to believe this. Somebody said, please tell Ali Usher I'm sorry and I love her more than anything else. Please save my bum, lad. From Paul. What do you reckon Ali's going to do to his bum if he doesn't...
Sorry, read that out again.
Please tell Ali Usher I'm sorry.
Who is Ali Usher?
I love... Well, I don't know. Well, we'll do it properly. Come on.
I thought this was a previous guest, like previous caller.
I think you made the right decision, Ali Usher. I think you've done the right. Stay away, man.
Yeah, keep away from Paul. Right.
Is this an ex apologising?
Yeah, no, sorry.
Oh,
man.
dear.
We've had a message into the studio, and it comes from Paul, who's got a potentially endangered backside. He says, please tell Ali Usher I'm sorry. I love her more than anything else.
Well, that's from Paul.
That's from Paul, who says, please save my arse, lad. I mean, that's...
from Paul.
Oh, how wonderfully romantic. Please save me arse, please. Please, come on. Louis.
I'd say if I was Paul, I wouldn't trust Andre.
I think we've made it worse, yeah.
Do a romantic message. You're probably the last person that I would call to read out a romantic message.
It's Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
Look,
yeah,
sorry, there's a UN worker on the BBC at the moment who looks like Elton John.
Elton John.
But OK, let's go to Roy in Hampshire.
Don't send them to the BBC.
Roy, you're on Talk. It might be Nicola Sturgeon's mum. Have you ever seen her? She's superb. OK, Roy is in Hampshire. Roy, you're on Talk.
Oh, good evening. Just a couple of points regarding Lyd. I lived down on the Romney Marshes in the 50s.
Right.
And the Lyd airport they called it Ferryfields, and the aeroplanes, they could take 4 or 5 cars and that they would fly over to France.
They'd fly the cars?
Is that the end of the story?
Yeah. Well, that was Lyd, but in the 50s it was a desolate place in the winter. It was, it was like a ghost
So basically, the number one advantage with Lyd used to be you could take your car on a plane to get out of the place.
4 cars.
4 cars.
Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5 cars. The whole front of the plane used to open up, and the cars used to drive in.
Like what they do now with planes and cars.
Yeah.
You could go on holiday, putting your car on a plane, sorry?
Yeah, the Saudis, when they come here, that's why they have all those Arabic plates, so you can't get a ticket. They bring them over here, because it's like 30 grand to bring a car.
In Goulburn, where I previously mentioned, you used to be able to drive your car onto a train and go to London Euston Station and then drive it off and drive around central London for the day.
This sounds like futuristic stuff to me.
Sounds fantastic, doesn't it?
Listen,
by the way, whoever
It doesn't sound like it makes Liv very exciting.
Tony, you're liking or Tony, you're disliking. Sorry, Tony.
Gary, is it Gary?
Tony, your disliking of Liskeard is significant, right? Look, Liskeard, it has Turkish barbers, but all the pubs have closed down, and people don't.
Yeah, of course, all the pubs are closed down because who would go to Liskeard for an evening out? I mean,
I don't know.
It's tumbleweeds. As I said, there's a car park. There's a NatWest, there's a charity shop, and there's an Indian takeaway.
And a Morrison's.
That's it. And a Morrison's.
Yeah, Morrison's.
There's a Morrison's.
Well, that's a good reason.
And
there is a Pets at Home opposite the Morrison's.
You're making it even better.
Or may not
You're selling it, man. You're selling
the biggest exports.
Looking at the fish in Pets at Home.
The biggest exports of Liskeard are 3 exports: crime, poverty, and ignorance. Yay! The old one's the best. So go on, Roy.
Can I talk about the old age pensioner in the care home?
Yes.
The 92-year-old.
Who got tasered.
Yeah. Well, just a thing there. When those police went in, all that one of the coppers had to do, the guy, is to take his jacket off and put it over the knife. If you notice, his bed was at the side. They could have taken the cover off of the bed and put it over the knife. There was no need whatsoever to do what they did.
He was in a wheelchair with one leg. They were in no danger, and in 84 seconds they tasered him.
Do you know if a 92-year-old threatened me with a butter knife, do you know what I'd do? Walk up and take it off him.
Just don't even walk up. Leave him there. Stand at the door.
I wouldn't put my jacket over it. I'd just go up and go. That's just a butter knife. Pick it up.
Just leave him and he'll drop it.
Are they following orders, mate? Are they following orders? My uncle was ended up a chief training instructor at Hendon Police College in Hendon, and he used to take the
coincidence.
He used to take the recruits on 2 at a time, and he would give them a knife, and he would and they were supposed to attack him with a knife, and he would take the knife off of them. They were trained in unarmed combat.
Yes.
Are they not trained anymore?
Well, that was a 92-year-old with one leg. You don't need.
There's got to be standard training, right? But I mean, I guess they sometimes
teach you.
Are
they following orders?
No, I'll tell you what.
There's an alternative.
I'll tell you what was right. What Asher said yesterday, which is when we were told that the tasers would only be if the officer themselves were in imminent danger.
Of a samurai sword. They said if someone's got a samurai, not a 92-year-old one-legged man who'd just been gassed and beaten with a truncheon, and this all happened with 84 seconds. They could have stood at the door and gone, now, drop the knife, because he couldn't get up. He's got one leg.
Yeah, that's what they should have done was they should have stood 4 foot away in the knowledge he couldn't stand up going, ha, 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 you can't get me, you can't get me.
Talk to him.
And then when he stood up and fell over, they should have just got the knife off.
And if he's a danger to himself, well, that's his own thing, but, that's what the excuse they use.
Maybe that's how he lost the leg.
Are the police now not trained in unarmed combat because
they probably are.
Tasers?
Have you seen the state of our police?
And they've got this spray that they use. I mean, when my uncle was a copper, all they had was a wooden truncheon.
Well, did you see that video online of the lady police officers attempting to break someone's door down? They couldn't do it. And they sort of stand there. I mean,
I've actually got one of those police batons because my mate used to be a police officer
and stole it.
Yeah.
Well, he just kept all his kit.
He stole it,
and it's in a box
so
in my office.
It.
So I have the baton in case anyone,
So he stole it.
I don't know if they give you your kit for free, but
they don't. No.
No. So you're allowed to keep your trousers.
Chuck, can you call the authorities, please?
But, the battering ram thing.
Yeah. No, I mean the stick.
Oh, the stick.
Yeah.
The baton.
Whip. The one that's half whip, half baton.
Is it telescopic?
No, it's a hard. Is
it the telescopic one? They have a telescopic metal one now.
They called it an asp.
An asp. Why? Because you asked me. Oh, asp. Okay, thank you, Roy. Let's go to Gary in Portsmouth. Gary, you're on talk.
Gaz.
Hello, Andre.
Hello.
Ash.
Or Hello.
And Chloe.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, you mentioned Liskeard earlier on.
Do you know Liskeard?
Were you earwigging our conversation?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah. No, I used to live.
Are you on speakerphone, Gaz?
Isn't who?
Are you on speakerphone?
Yes.
Can you use your hand? Gaz.
Mate.
You pick your handset up.
Come on, let's.
You can do it.
How long?
Yeah,
That's better.
I'm using my hand now.
Now you sound a bit too clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about Liskeard.
You put it back down and go on. No, carry on.
No. I just wanted to say that, you mentioned Liskeard. I mean, my sister lives down there with her son. I used to live down there. We moved there as a family back in '83. It's changed a hell of a lot. I mean, we used to go to Daddy-O's. Does Chloe know that?
Daddy-O's.
Is that the brothel?
It was a sex club.
No, it was a kebab house, you idiot.
It's a kebab house.
Did you go to Morrison's?
I don't think so. I've been there.
Oh yeah, Morrison's. Yeah, my sister used to work in there.
Oh, see that's it. Yeah, see that.
Right,
that's all there is to do in Cornwall. That is the peak of your career. You could be a manager at Morrison's.
No, this segment was not intended to turn into. Did you meet my cousin Susan? He used to work in the kebab shop.
You're the one who decided to make a big topic of what's the worst place in Britain. You started it.
Has nobody's mentioned Wigan, but people have talked about Luton. Wigan,
yeah.
Wigan's rubbish. The problem is people keep nominating the same place over and over again. 4 Lanes in Cornwall, and also Harlow is a dump. That's from Pete in Mole. Tony says Scunthorpe. Have you heard about the Scunthorpe problem?
Yeah.
What problem?
The Scunthorpe problem.
The middle letters.
Scunthorpe is the only town in the UK that has a very, very rude word in the middle of it. C-U-N-T. And of course, a lot of the systems that filter out rude words from emails won't allow Scunthorpe to be ever named. Mind you, do you know Essex County Council had a thing that banned the word sex? Well, it's Essex, right? I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Oh dear.
Sarah and Mick have said Fishwick.
So troublesome.
Where's fish? It must be a fishing port. Fishwick.
Parr Market. Somebody's asked about Parr Market.
Yeah, Parr. That's the first place I mentioned.
I've had enough of this. Right, no more Cornwall. Nobody cares about Cornwall.
But it has all the worst places.
Nobody cares about Cornwall.
But Rick Stein, there's that nice bit Rick Stein's there.
I'll take you on a nice trip to Parr Market one day. Take you on a holiday there. You'll love it.
Gordon Ramsbottom's got a place down there.
Might be able to buy a bracelet made by a 12-year-old. That's about what
I've got to be honest with you, the worst town I've been to recently, which is, as a tourist resort, at best below average, Gaza. I mean, that was not ideal. I will tell you, and I don't want to be disrespectful to the Palestinians, but Gaza is at best below average as a tourist. But and even then, I'm being generous. Honestly.
It's got a lovely beach, though.
Okay. Would you like to sit on a hot beach this weekend? Okay. Chloe, who is not a hot beach by any stretch of imagination, she's a woman, not a body of sand.
That's better.
Okay.
I think we got away with that.
Chloe Dobbs, thank you so much. We will be back with Andrew Bond, the press preview, straight after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is... Oh, there we go.
It's like Star Trek.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould, and unfortunately the buttocks of the assistant producer moved the camera there very, very briefly.
That's a different show.
Yeah, what he did was he put his cheeks around the camera and then shuffled around.
It's like a medical show.
Okay, so this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and indeed our guest co-host is Andrew Eborn.
Hey.
He's being mic'd up. Well, don't put him on the camera.
It's all right. It's all right. He does so well, this guy. And he tries to hide under the camera and bits and pieces. I love the behind-the-scenes stuff. Sometimes that's some of the best stuff of all, isn't it?
Yeah. Can I? Oh, no, I'm not allowed to tell you my joke about magic.
Oh, let's go for your joke about magic. Go on.
Am I allowed to tell my Paul Daniels joke?
No, because it's going to be rude. And Paul's was a lovely man. Debbie is a friend. Okay. So, but go on. What was it?
No.
What was it? You can't do that. They're going to be texting it in. Is it new and original? Is it
okay, you got to say it now.
Okay, here's my joke.
Yes, here we go.
I'm sorry if you're easily offended, but my joke is this. How do you know that British entertainers are better than American entertainers?
Go on, then.
Well, because you had David Blaine up in that box for 4 weeks next to Tower Bridge. Our own Paul Daniels has been in a box for 8 years. And he's still nowhere near being coming out. 8 years.
It's so distasteful. So distasteful.
Oh, that's magic.
So distasteful. Not original.
David Blaine did 4 weeks. Paul Daniels has done 8 years.
And David Blaine was hilarious. Wasn't he great in that box? What he
wasn't meant to be hilarious. It was
how he did it. What he was doing, he was basically master manipulator of the media, which I love, like in the same way as Donald Trump and you two are. What happens is he knew it was going to get the headlines in the same way as Houdini used to do these great stunts. So it wasn't about magic, it was about a stunt.
Yeah, but Houdini used to jump in the water tied in chains, get out within a minute or so. We're not 5 months in just a glass box.
That's
soiling himself.
He would, I don't know about it, he would basically encase himself in all sorts of things. Yeah. And what you want to do, actually, the longer you can do it, the more publicity you're going to go. It's no good doing it for a minute. You want to draw the crowd in forever.
Do you know Houdini was almost killed once because he had the barrels that he was trapped in, and obviously they would have a sort of spherical top.
Yeah.
But somebody got him to do it in beer.
Yes.
Well, of course, when he took the gulp of air, it was carbon dioxide, not air.
Awful. I didn't want to get out. No, but you're working. But the same thing would happen. You know, Chung Ming-soo and a number of other people, they've died as a result of things going slightly wrong, and so they get shot and so on and so forth. You might remember that Houdini himself, he got punched in the stomach.
He died a couple of days later.
It was awful. And what happens? This is for entertainment.
Oh, the worst one I heard was that bloke who used to pretend to swallow razor blades, and one day did actually swallow it, and it just sliced open his esophagus.
Yes.
And that.
Do you remember in the 80s, mange tout, which literally means eat all, and he ate a plane once. Tiny pieces.
There was, and there's the
mange too.
I used to love a late night show where they used to have regurgitators. Do you remember that?
Fantastic.
Oh, Stevie,
I knew a guy like that. Yeah.
He was brilliant. I don't like that's the move.
They always do that, don't they? Yeah.
And you can still do it forever. So I love it. So people who swallow.
Apparently Houdini did that with little keys. He could get keys and he could.
No,
I
couldn't possibly come in. No, he was a magician. It was magic.
Stevie Star, the regurgitator, couldn't possibly have swallowed a golf ball into his actual stomach.
Why couldn't he?
Because it's a golf ball.
No, I also know somebody else who does it. A good friend of mine called Kieran Lefebvre, who does a similar sort of thing. So he's a regurgitator. I'll tell you what we do, because we haven't seen a regurgitator forever. I will bring him on the show and he'll regurgitate for us. Is that good? No. Why not?
No.
Why?
We don't want people puking on the show.
No, they do it elegantly. It's got to be good.
We've had Mr. Methane in once. I'll tell you what, it stunk though. It's a different type of gas because it's not from. It comes from somewhere else.
This is not a big studio. I wouldn't recommend that.
Right, Ali has said, Andre, please look into Oldham. It's so corrupt and seriously needs the mainstream media to investigate and help us. Please be that person.
Yeah.
So Ali has been in touch saying, please come to Oldham. No. Please help us.
Well, no, but he's right about the council there. I saw the guy, I can't remember his name, Raj, on the guy in Manchester. He's been on the show, and what he was saying about the council is unbelievable.
We got Merthyr Tydfil.
She's a lovely lady, isn't she? I love that. But what I've actually been researching this, listening to your brilliant programme whilst I've been out and about, and there's an official list of the worst places in Ghana. I'm sure you've probably done this. This is a bingo card.
No, we haven't. We don't.
Okay, Luton first of all.
Yeah, we got
Luton frequently tops list. I Live Here 2023 poll. They described it as a genuinely scary place. Aldershot is named the worst place to live in 2024.
But isn't that because of squaddies getting drunk and beating people up?
Well, there might be one of those
reasons.
Help. What they talk about is crime rates 50% higher than the South England average.
Oh, that's not very nice.
That's for Aldershot. Clacton-on-Sea. We love a bit of Clacton-on-Sea.
Clacton, where Farage is member parliament.
Yes, well, they highlight that as one of the reasons. 2025 list. And Nigel Farage, good is there. It was criticised for socio-economic challenges and described harshly by residents residents, like Nigel.
It's the poorest place is Jaywick.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter being poor. If you've got, actually, it's got nothing to do with the economic side. If you've got people, you sometimes bond together.
The poor do often, don't they? Like World War spirit. It's a sort of...
Some of the most generous people are the people who are not.
They got not a pot to.
What about that estate?
Yes.
Next to Elephant and Castle, that was the Jasmine Allen off the bill.
Yes, I've been there.
I mean, that's not the Garden of Eden.
They've knocked it all down.
Have you mentioned Peterborough?
I like Peterborough.
Well, and I said this: a recurring name in the I Live Here polls, voted worst multiple times for its draining atmosphere and lack of cultural soul, despite its cathedral and parks.
Okay, well, so I had a friend who lived in Stamford, which is next to Peterborough, and he used to take me to a nightclub called Keyhole Kate's.
Keyhole Kate's? Oh, don't.
Keyhole's.
I've seen that movie.
Keyhole's was meant to be. Keyhole's was meant to be the worst nightclub in Britain. Although, as we were saying yesterday, Clute now claims to be the worst nightclub in Britain.
So I went to Durham. I was going to mention Clute. It sounds like a social disease even before you start, doesn't it? But not as much as Keyhole
Owned by Dominic Cummings.
And thank you. Was that very good? He couldn't see it though, so that's
no, it is owned by Dominic Cummings.
I know it is. So it used to be years ago, 5 years ago, when I was a student up there. It was still there, and it was still called Clute's, and students would just populate the place because it was like tuppence halfpenny for a beer.
So when you said you'd been to Durham, you went to university.
I went to university.
I thought you meant you went and spoke at the Durham Union.
Oh, I've done everything. Talking of Durham, talking of speaking at unions, yesterday I was a guest of the wonderful Errol Musk at the Oxford Union debate.
Do you know Errol Musk?
I know. It was so fantastic. But I've actually he's actually a lovely guy, and he's done it.
No, stop.
He's been in the UK for this debate, and I spent the last several days with him. What it was, they had a very unprovocative motion, which was this House believes or insists that Africa must evict its colonial masters.
What, the Chinese?
That's amazing. So you're bound to have a lot of this sort of stuff. What I was hoping for, and it's a glorious place, we had the dinner there, black tie.
Yes, yeah. Did you eat swan? They eat swan there, don't they?
And,
bring them in with
and Lark's Tunyon Aspic is one of the specialities.
they love all that sort of stuff.
But I came from here, I was doing Kev's show, the brilliant What Just Happened.
Come on, let's get on.
I know it's there. But we then worked on that sort of basis. I went straight there, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic to see all the people. It's an interesting tradition. But what they need to do, and the slightly disappointing thing is, when you go for a debate, you have to make sure that you're open-minded about all sides of the argument. What I would suggest to people, keep an open mind about everything. And if you're going in with such a provocative clickbait title, at least keep an open mind.
But he says President Macron's wife is his father.
I've got a friend who invented the line which has been used at the Oxford Union so many times.
Go on then.
It's often said that you only get invited to the Oxford Union twice. Once at the beginning of your career and once at the end of your career. With that in mind, we'd like to welcome back Peter Tatchell.
I love it.
He's banned from there.
But I tell you what, there's some great people. They have a wonderful, the formality. You've done it, have you?
Yeah, I competed. I think I got to the semi-final of the Oxford Debate Championship.
Who beat you?
Was it a tough semi?
It was but it was interesting.
But you know that hall's called the Mitsubishi Centre?
Yes.
Okay, so Steve in Walsall. Steve, you're on talk.
Hello, Steve.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Warsaw's a pretty bad place, isn't it, now? It's a good hellhole. I used to know it used to be great.
Now, a few years ago, there was a vote on what was the worst town in the country.
A vote.
Grimsby was the first and Walsall was the second.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Having said that, I had the misfortune 3 years ago to go and register my wife's death.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
She had a 2-year battle with cancer.
Yeah.
And I came out the registrar after registering her death.
Yeah.
And I had the misfortune to walk through Walsall. And there was a gang of... I must say this, they're Eastern Europeans. They was all drunk on cans of lager and drugs. The one come up to me, he says, excuse me, he says, have you got the price of a can of lager?
Yes.
And obviously, I was in no mood for that. And I said to him, I said, look, mate, I says, get away from me.
Yes.
I said, well, I'll pull your head out of your shoulders. And he looked at me and he says, I am ever so sorry, I do believe you would do that.
Yes.
And walked off. Now, years ago, this never went on. The police would be there like lightning. round them all up and take them off.
Well, it is interesting because
there's no community policing at all anywhere.
Yeah, but what's happening? A lot of places are very honest. If you go to Camden, there's a number of punk rockers still there several years after the time, and they tell you, look, get a punk drunk for £1.
Oh, I've seen
Have you seen that?
I've seen him get a punk drunk.
So that's the honesty. They don't turn around and say, "Oh, give it to her here for whatever it's going to be. I want to get drunk," and so there's that honesty about it.
Where can punks get drunk for £1?
I was going to say.
No, there is a punk. There's a proper punk.
That's the one. How's it go on?
There's a proper punk. He's got all the hair, all the gear, and he's got a sign on him saying "Get a punk drunk." And he's got a card where you can just give him a couple.
There's no punks in Walsall. Steve?
Yes?
You shocked him.
Are there any punks in Walsall? There aren't, are there? There was no punks in Walsall. Well, ZZ Sputnik used to be from Walsall.
They were great.
And Boy George lived there. There used to be punks in the 80s, but they've again been ethnically cleansed, the punks from Walsall.
So do you think Walsall's worse than Slough? Because Slough always tops the list as well.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Hello, hooray, it's a brand new day for the Eton Rifles.
Yeah.
If any of you gentlemen was to walk from the one end of Walsall town centre to the bottom, you would be shocked.
What would shock us? What would shock us?
In my day when I was younger, the place, I mean, I can remember after dark, if you was in the town walking through 2 or 3 people and you stopped, before you know where you was, there'd be 2 coppers behind you that say, come on, move on.
Right.
You know, it's all gone
like
down
a police state.
So what should they do to rectify that? Because they listen to the show, the people of Walsall.
Well, the thing is, most of the councillors in Walsall can't even speak English, so that says a lot for everything.
You need Bobby police on the beat. That's what you need. Like what you just said. That would soon sort things out if they flooded it with police.
Well, yes, exactly, it would. But the thing is, it's just got worse over the years. Every year it's got worse. I think you've got the technology with cameras to organise all this, but that doesn't work. You can't beat a man there looking at somebody in the face and saying, pack it in or chuck them in.
But they don't even look at the cameras. I know someone who had an armed robbery in Walsall. You know, they could have looked back on the cameras. It was quite a big armed robbery and didn't bother. Shut the case.
It is the scandal. We've spoken about this beforehand, about the people snatching mobile phones. And this almost happened to me outside the BBC, which has cameras absolutely everywhere. And I phoned up the police straight away and I said, hang on, this is exactly where I am. This is the point. And I can tell you there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras there. And they said, they'll never look at it. This happens so many times each day, and it's not about the technology, it's about the enforcement. They've got the technology, we can rebuild him.
They should link them all up, because there's 1 million cameras in London. There should be an AI thing linked up to all shops' cameras so they can just do it all.
The argument against that, though, and it'd be interesting to hear your view in Walsall, the argument against that is it requires personal data to be...
Well, the facial recognition, which they're doing in the back door, aren't they?
Well, that's a different story.
Not facial recognition, obviously.
You're worried on me,
Asher, can we be very clear? You can either do the face or the back door. You can't normally do that.
You can tell a lot. It's like a fingerprint. Everyone's is different.
I mean, we had that with Joe a bit earlier, didn't we? He was very good.
We don't need to know about that, what you get up to before you come on, then.
Hey, but interesting point. I love it. But I love Walsall. What's the best thing about it?
The art gallery, isn't it? The Epstein Art Gallery is great.
The Jeffrey Epstein Art Gallery?
It is the biggest collection of Jeffrey Epstein sculptures
in the
world, isn't it?
Yeah, the biggest balls up that was ever built.
Apart from that, though. It's got nice leather interior. Do you like anything in Walsall, Steve? I mean, it is pretty bad. The market's collapsed, the Sadler Centre's rubbish, the football team's all right. I mean, give us a good thing.
They don't win promotion, but the Sadler Centre, the council board Sadler Centre, but heavens knows how much. And all the shops in there are empty because they can't afford the
even the Argos?
Pardon?
Even the Argos, has that gone?
I don't know, very likely has. Everything else is gone.
Are you going to leave, Steve, or are you too set in your ways? I mean, why don't you go out somewhere sunny, you know, or just get out of there, man?
Well, I'm on the verge of doing that. I mean, a lot of my relatives are in Australia and in New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Are you going to go there instead?
They were transported.
So you're tempted to go over there instead?
I mean, I've watched this country. I mean, you're all right. You can laugh about it, but I've watched this country. I mean, I'm 77 now.
Right.
I've watched this country from being a beautiful place to live to an SH now. from top to bloody bottom.
Are you hoping reform will get in? What's your idea for? What's your idea for change? Are you going to vote reform? Do you see that as the alternative?
Exactly, because everybody. Well, I don't think Nigel Farage is a liar like Starmer. I mean, he couldn't lie straight in bed. Yeah. I mean, he's coming out with the biggest load of crap I've heard in my life yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a well-rehearsed interview. He was all these people. They know exactly what to ask him, and he knew exactly.
They grilled him. The press really have turned on him. They were having a go at him for just mentioning Farage. It looks like they've turned on him, and they want Angela Rayner.
And the mint green bivouac.
Going on about Nigel Farage. He wants to get his own house in order before he starts criticising anybody else.
So what do you think? I mean,
these hypocrites have a draw breath, in my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. What do you think? Because at the moment they're fighting on the right-hand side. I always talk. I mean, we talk to people like Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe, and then you've got Nigel on one side. They're fragmenting the votes, aren't they? What they need to do is get somebody who can bring them all together. We want a positive message, not a negative one.
Well, exactly. I mean, let's get everybody together, have a good talk, and sort this mess out.
Yeah,
but look, you saw Richard Harmer. Hang on. You saw Richard Harmer yesterday. You know, any suggestion we should do anything about the European Convention on Human Rights, and he branded you a Nazi. Harmer is a bad person. And that's why he doesn't want to make the country a better place. He wants to trash a load of money into his back pocket by running effectively vexatious litigation against the British government to keep sex offenders in Skye.
Yeah, there's two things been brought to the fore with me just lately. This was on YouTube. It's not on general media. King Charles wanted to have. He wants to talk to Starmer about what's going on.
Okay.
It's nothing to do with King Charles. He needs to stay out of it. Look what happened to the last King Charles, the one before that. Look what happened to him.
Spaniel.
Well, something's got to go on anyway. I mean, because the whole country's going down the pan.
So you don't like King Charles either. What don't you like about him?
Pardon?
You said you don't like King Charles. What don't you like about him?
The monarchy is a great thing in this country. He has got the power, King Charles, to stop Starmer. Some of the things he's doing. He's the only man in the country what can do it.
He's not allowed to.
Yeah. Well, you say he's got the power. What power's he got? I'm not quite sure that's right. What do you think he can do, King Charles?
He can have a word with Starmer about things he's doing.
Have a word with Starmer. No, we're not going to have a word.
He makes good biscuits.
All right. Yeah. Paul is in Horsham. Paul, you're on top.
Oh, we love Horsham.
Horsham.
Christ Hospital.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I was going back to the worst town in England.
Yes.
I was born in Crawley Hospital.
That is
Crawley.
Bad. That is bad.
And that was 1962.
Ah, good year.
I grew up there. Can I go on loudspeaker?
Not really. Well, go on. Let's see what it's. No, don't.
No, don't, because there'll be a delay. It's much better. You're speaking really well at the moment. We can hear you properly. Go for it.
Right. Okay. I went to infant school there, junior school, and senior school.
Okay.
There was never one person of colour as a pupil or teacher. The only people of colour in the junior school, we had a separate unit, nothing to do with us, but it's on the grounds called, I'm not allowed to know if I'm allowed to say this, a mentally handicapped unit.
Yeah, well, that's what they were called in those days. So, I mean,
a mentally handicapped unit?
Yes. Now, there were several young children in there, particularly two of colour, that were severe. They were in leather metal calipers. They were dribbling. They were severely handicapped. They were of colour, I would say, guessing Pakistani, India. I don't know if that's inbreeding, which we've been talking about. I don't know. We had everything in Crawley. It was a new town for the London overspill. My parents came down, had me and my brother. We had a swimming pool, a cinema, woods to play around in, fishing lakes, everything. The council kept it all nice and clean, cutting the verges and the grass. Everything was nice and sweet. I left at 28 years of age, got married, left, went to Horsham, just up the road.
Yes.
Which is a lovely place still at the moment.
Is it? Yeah.
Now, I had to go to Crawley Hospital.
Right.
I'm 63 now. 63. I had to go to Crawley Hospital 2 weeks ago for an MRI scan by taxi. And the taxi took me through Crawley. He actually took the wrong route, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, they do that.
Took me through Crawley, but you can't go down the high street anymore, it's blocked off.
Yes.
He took me down the edge of the high street where I did an apprenticeship in a garage.
That was Britain's latest farmer.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
She took you down the side street, not the main street.
And I can honestly say, it was like I wasn't in my country, looking at the shop front windows, the signs, and the people hanging outside of colour. It was like I honestly mean this, it was like I was in a poor street in Bangladesh or India.
So people are going to listen to this. There'll be some people who say those sort of comments should not be acceptable because it sounds racist. What do you say to that?
I'm not racist.
He's just saying what you saw, aren't you, Paul? You're just saying what you see. You can't be accused of being racist for saying what you see.
No, but it's important. It's important to answer that, because what happens? The issue that you said for the worst town of Britain, you said, and you've referred the phrase, and some people find that offensive. People of colour. This is what you said, and you've cited that as the reason for it being the worst. Is that what you meant?
Can I put you on loudspeaker because it's very hard?
No.
No,
because it makes it sound really bad.
Well, let's see what it's like.
So nobody will know what you're talking about. If you can't talk, then all right. Well, look, I'll tell you what. Why do we leave that one hanging in the air, Paul? Thank you so much. All right. By the way,
yes.
Worst town. I thought of a great one.
Go on then.
I've forgotten which one it was.
Oh right. Was that because it was a nice?
No, I've remembered.
I'll go then.
Remembered. So in my journalism course,
yes,
I went to North Mitrovica. That is the bit of Kosovo that is still controlled by Serb militia.
Okay.
Right? I've also been to Colombia. I've been to Mexico.
Yes.
I've been to Russia. I've been to Ukraine. I've been to the Gazan border with Israel. Mind you, I've been to the Golan Heights.
Yes.
But the only time in my journalistic career I've been evacuated from anywhere was Highton in Liverpool.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Why were you evacuated?
So meeting Farkist insurgents in Colombia was safer. What happened was, we went into the street that was reputedly the poorest in Britain.
Okay.
And the travellers that lived there, obviously they're Roma by descent, but they're travellers, but obviously they don't travel anymore. They obviously get a lot of people coming down filming there.
Yes.
So what they did was, you could see them immediately get on WhatsApp, and they came with quad bikes and attempted to close off the road so they could steal our equipment.
Oh my goodness. Or do you think they're just embarrassed they don't want to make it a zoo? And sometimes if there's poverty, and this is what people do.
Poverty porn.
And I actually think it's quite disgusting when people are filming people who are homeless and people who are poor, and you're coming in there with your documentary, and you go to places in Africa, for example, and you go around a village, and I know there are tours they organise. You want to come and see this particular town where people are poor. I think that's disgusting. So there's another side of looking at things. But you're right. If you're worried about it because of your own
what about the tents on Park Lane? People are filming that. That's journalism.
They need to clear that up.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this. It is absolutely crazy. It is. It looks like an appalling. It's a blot on our fantastic.
Because when you're in your room in the Dorchester, you don't want to see that all over your
flipping graph. It's not that bad, times.
Yeah, the banqueting suite on the top.
I did get into trouble once because I had a conversation with somebody from the PKK at Marble Arch.
Yes.
And the Ku Klux Klan.
I was PKK. I was criticising Abdullah Öcalan.
Yes.
God, that was a minority video, wasn't it? But they surrounded me, the Kurds, and said, "You are ISIS! You are ISIS! You are ISIS!" And I was thrown out of Marble Arch for being an Islamic fundamentalist.
Kurds away!
Easy mistake. Easy mistakes.
You should work on that. I think we have to always treat everybody with respect, or the respect they deserve.
I hate when you say that. No, go to break.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, worst towns in the UK. Heather is in Gavan.
Hello, Heather.
Is it Gavan that's the worst town, Heather?
No,
No.
I'd say the whole entire United Kingdom with the politics of both Labour, Conservative and SNP. They've been in power for far too long, these three parties in the whole of the United Kingdom. And what they've done, they've caused more damage, more desperation in Scotland, in England, and
Just to explain. Heather is a political analyst.
I know. Heather's been on before. We love having Heather. It's always interesting hearing Heather's views.
We don't love having Heather. So go on, Heather.
And no wondering why people are moving towards reform as the only party to save the whole of the United Kingdom, because if we do not get this change, we are going to face a constitutional war from Scotland, England and Wales, because we are getting absolutely pig sick of both Labour and Conservative cocking England and Wales up, and SNP causing a lot of problems with
All right, Heather, thank you.
We need a lot of changes.
Okay, Heather, change. Okay, Heather, thank you so much. Somebody has said, Pete the Mole has said, Dunstable is a dump. I went there once; it was closed. But
Dunstable.
I like Dunstable.
Yes,
because it's where Jesus was born.
There you go. There's a
It's got nice green hills.
I'll play.
Go on.
Then. Why was Jesus born in Dunstable?
No, you go. Oh no, it's not Dunstable. It's in a stable.
It's got a nice downs, and they have gliders there. It's quite pretty around there, even though the actual town might. But it's not that bad. I mean, pretty.
Tristan is in South. Tristan's in Southend. Tristan,
hello, Tristan.
Is Southend the worst town in Britain?
Hello.
Yeah, lovely to hear from you.
Here's Joe's going to try and avoid the camera. He won't succeed. Come on, Joe. Come on, bring it in. Thank you.
Lovely to hear your happy voice, Andrew.
Oh, it's lovely to have you on the show. Thank you.
So infectious.
Thank you. I love having you on the show.
No, that's cleared up now.
Yeah. So I want to nominate. I'm going to be.
Oh, you came in yesterday and hosted the last hour. It was the best hour. I ran away from the debate.
Shut up, Andrew.
Lovely to be. I'd like to be on a panel with you.
I would love that, Tristan. We'll sort that out for you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, there almost be there.
Yeah, I need to be specific on that one. I want to nominate Southend Town Centre.
Right, why?
Why? Because I'm going to talk you through it.
Yes. Right.
There were 2 machete attacks within the space of 2 weeks.
Right.
A 14-year-old girl was beaten up and beaten to a pulp by a massive gang for no reason, unprovoked attack. Then there was a knife attack in the high street as well, massive brawl, loads of knives. And then on our seafront at the bottom of the high street, I don't know if you saw it, the machete gang went ballistic. Absolutely everyone. There must have been about 7 people wielding machetes in a massive crowd. And most of this has happened in the daytime. That's the worst part.
Wow.
Now, yeah, if you're going to come to Southend, we've got 3 other high streets, Thorpe Bay Broadway, Hamlet Court Road and Lee Broadway. Come and see them. They're far better.
Well, how come they're all right and the middle isn't? What's going on? It's only a small town.
I don't know. It tends to be where a lot of the homeless live on the streets, if you'll forgive me saying it.
And I think that there are a number of towns, Tristan, that have this problem. But also Southend, what we should also do, there's the good stuff. I've been to some fantastic entertainment in Southend.
Really?
Have you really?
Yeah,
have you really?
Oh, no, Tristan will tell you. Well, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful theatre.
There you go.
Massive.
Who have you seen there? Who's there?
We've got a second one, the Palace Theatre, which is just around the corner from me. Yep.
Derek Acora appears there.
Well, I went to see.
That's what I'm hearing.
In 1998, I went to see Sash at Royal Holloway Student Union. Right. That was a night to remember. Boop, 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 boop. He was like Sash was like Jean-Michel Jarre, only had 2 songs.
Absolutely.
He's got the longest pier in the world.
Do you remember Jean-Michel Jarre? He only had that one song, didn't he?
He did.
Do.
Yep, up here is 1.3 miles.
He's still going.
It is 1.3 miles. A massive. Well, he's going. Jean-Michel Jarre has got together with Jar Gabor to be Jar. You're doing the old joke.
So Holly Johnson is playing in Southend tomorrow.
That's quite good.
Really?
I'm so old now. I'm worried about my health.
I saw Frank Goes to Hollywood back in 1985, the Birmingham Odeon.
They're brilliant. Aren't they brilliant? Do you remember what they played?
It was the Pleasure Dome.
A bit of relax.
It was
I went to see ELO in 1975. No, I'm joking. That was an Alan Partridge.
Yeah, the last thing I saw was Roy Chubby Brown, and I hate to say it was a really good night. Do you know
he's hilarious,
you
isn't he?
far-right racist.
Brilliant.
Oh, no, but we need to be able to laugh at certain things.
Alan Brazil and Ray Parlour are doing their double act in June down there.
How is June? Okay. She's a lovely lady.
June. So get down and see them. He's got a massive head.
Who's got a massive... Frank Sidebottom. He had a massive head. Do you remember Frank Sidebottom?
I loved Frank Sidebottom.
Very similar to Alan Brazil. Similar size.
I had an argument with Frank Sidebottom.
You have arguments with everybody. What did you argue with him about? Was it that terrible Paul Janners joke?
No, bizarrely, I had an argument with Frank Sidebottom because he was very rude to Neil and Christine Hamilton.
What? No, and you had an argument with him?
How was he rude? What did he do?
I can't remember.
But as part of the ad, because he's rude. He's supposed to be that sort of stuff.
No, it was Neil and Christine Hamilton were doing an evening with Neil and Christine Hamilton.
Yes.
And like it was maybe 50p to go and a tenner to leave or something. But they were making
all the old jokes today. Oh, we love it. Go on.
Making a fortune. And Frank Sidebottom was in the audience.
Yes.
And he started insulting her. We went on a young conservative trip.
Yes.
And we were all beard up.
Yes.
And it just descended into
So
violence.
he wasn't where he was in the audience and he was wearing the Frank Sidebottom head while he's in the audience.
But it's a gag. You say he was rude to them. How was he rude?
How do you know it was him and not just a bloke with his head on?
Because everyone... Listen, in Manchester, Frank Sidebottom used to go to everything. He was from Altrincham.
Is that right? And he would go with the head on. But you're going to heckle, aren't you? You've got to work on that.
He was a punk, he was a punk in real Chris Seavey.
Was he a punk who get drunk for a pound? We should do that.
I don't know who gave him that head, but it paid off.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to behave. What we need to look at, though, is what's happened to him. I haven't heard from him for ages.
He died.
That's why he won't hear from him.
Nobody taken the brand. What tends to happen is you then have... Because he had a little Frank at one stage.
Well, Ian Lee, I think, was sounding him up to his record label. Check him out, Ian Lee's record label.
That's what I thought. And sometimes, I know I appreciate the person, but you can reinvent yourself. Like
there was
Doctor
a film,
Who.
wasn't there? Mark Ronson did a film. And,
so hang on a second. If I just made a big papier-mâché head, I could be the new Frank Sidebottom.
No, you couldn't, because I would sue you on behalf of whatever estate it is. No, you do license. This is in the same way as people are now doing cartoons of themselves, rather than just having their own characters.
He was on the James Wales show in the 80s all the time.
I was on Sky. I was on Sky TV, on Sky News, and I had a picture of Frank Sidebottom behind me.
Ah, there you go.
And people noticed and loved it. Anyway, we'll be back just in a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. This was meant to be the press preview, but it has descended. By the way, I just want to say to my friend who's texted me in to say that I didn't put Rotterdam on the worst towns ever. I was attacked by a man with an axe in Rotterdam. It was what happened was we stayed at this hotel during this football convention that my dad was involved with, and they noticed that we were all Man United fans. I mean, I wasn't that bothered, and they were all Liverpool fans. So somebody got a fire axe and attacked us, and the armed police had to invade the hotel.
Good heavens.
However, Rotterdam was also the place where I got into the grand final of the European Debating Championship.
Oh, did you?
4 years later.
Oh, look, so you've done Oxford Union, you've done your Rotterdam, but your example about Rotterdam, however, is about English football fans going over and ruining it.
So Rotterdam, it's not Rotterdam's fault.
So you came second in the debating, did you? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have to hear all. I've got the list.
No, I came. Can I tell you? I came fourth in the grand final out of four.
Fourth.
right. And can I tell you why?
That's good.
Can I tell you why? The motion was this House would implement zero tolerance, and I defined it in 1999.
Yes.
I was told by the chief adjudicator and all the judges that it was the worst definition of a motion in the competition's history. In 1999, I proposed that in order to stop acts of international terrorism, we should invade Afghanistan, break up the Al-Qaeda network, and arrest Osama bin Laden. That was, now to be fair, on September the 12th, 2001, the chief adjudicator did phone me and say, on reflection, you may have had a point.
Oh, is that right? And did you get the medal? Could you reclaim it?
I said, but the prize money was 10 grand. Now
10 grand?
I know, I lost out on.
Oh, what a shame. But you should, in the same way as they're challenging these people to taking medals for Olympic stuff.
That's right.
You should have done. I could be a point of order.
I could be the equivalent of somebody who's been defeated by a transsexual.
No, you could be. I think that's the new cause. The Andre Walker, we want that 10 grand.
We want the 10.
We will share anybody who do this.
Also, to the person who nicked my finalist pewter mug, let me tell you.
Somebody was
Let me tell you.
Lovely action.
Let me tell you. Since 1999, I've been scanning.
No.
Right, I've been scanning eBay, which did exist in 1999, I think. I've been scanning. One day you will sell it.
The pewter pincher, we've got our eyes on you.
The pewter pincher.
That's all you want. There's a headline.
Was he the MP in Tamworth?
He was. With the pig.
I'll tell you what, the best thing.
Go on then.
No, I mean, this is awful, but he did get done for groping later.
Oh, dear.
But the MP for Tamworth was Chris Pincher.
How was later? They were right.
His name was Chris Pincher.
Yeah, of course.
And he was known as the Tamworth Pincher.
Oh, no, it was very recent. That's what he used to say.
But that was before
Pincher by name, because that was the headline.
Can you imagine appointing as the deputy chief whip the man known as the Tamworth Pincher? I mean, the Tamworth
got Boris
Pincher.
in trouble, didn't it? Not Sunak though.
Yes.
Karen in Rotherham.
Ah, Rotherham, is that
Rotherham? That's a pretty bad place, isn't
Hello,
it?
Karen.
It is a pretty bad place,
Oh, what a lovely accent.
Tell us more, Karen.
Oh, that's a bit patronising, but
Oh, no, it's a horrible accent then. I thought it was a nice accent.
Two-dimensional, two-dimensional, self-obsessed, narcissist. Oh, there it is. Oh, you're so marvellous. Give me a job. You're so marvellous. Give me a second series, you shit.
I know, bless him.
So, Karen, talk to us about Rotherham.
Rotherham. Are we still talking about worst towns in...
Yes, I'll give the list in a bit.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, we know about Rotherham, don't we, with the child exploitation.
Oh, they're not good.
Yeah.
Malarkey, yeah, right. It's tragic, actually. I mean, you've been laughing about it, you got to laugh. But really, it just used to be an ordinary white working class town, right? We weren't rich, we weren't... But it used to be quite nice. There's a minster, there's a chantry chapel, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now, where I used to live, which is a ghetto, we had Slovakian gypsies, and I'm 67 years old.
Happy birthday.
And there were... Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm glad. I'm actually glad I'm old, to be fair. And they were throwing stuff at my window, broke my window.
Oh, that's not
good. No, it's not good. So, you don't feel good about these people that
have you ever heard of the Lumix 9 council estate in Slovakia? They've knocked it down now, where if you broke your window, the flat was a write-off.
Oh, is that right? And what happens?
So they just said, well, there's no point in repairing the window because the window's worth more than the flat.
No.
So they just give you a different flat.
So what happens with all these empty ones then?
Well, in the end, it was just filthy.
But you've got centuries of tradition, thousands of years, and it's all destroyed.
I'll tell you what, if you grew up in a council estate, it can't be as bad as Lumix 9 in Slovakia. Bratislava's lovely this time of year.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
Karen, I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you this question that Andrew attempted to ask somebody else, but they weren't really biting. The problem is, you know, we can make jokes about these towns and chav towns and all this sort of things that came from the past, but most people getting in touch basically are listing uncontrolled immigration or foreign people coming into the town as the reason why the town is terrible. And it's basically the more uncontrolled immigration, the worse the town. Does that mean that we're being slightly unfair to these migrants?
No.
Why not?
I mean, I've got a friend who still lives in this ghetto I'm talking about, and she's gone through hell, whatever. You know, they've attacked her, they've done what... She's an old lady, she's nearly 80. But they've no respect. I mean, if they came over and they said,
do you think, sorry, we're almost getting to the end of this, but see, Asher and I have got a theory. I don't know what Andrew's view on this is. We think that actually the act of immigration itself is why these people cause trouble.
Well, it's mass immigration,
so effectively, the point being, if... You know, you're not going to rob your local spa if your uncle owns it, right? If you are embedded within the community, if you are somebody whose aunts and uncles and mum and dad and all that live there, then you are going to care about the community.
But small immigration, they'd move in and blend in and get a flat cap. You know, they would actually do that.
Sure, but to finish the point, what we're saying is that just... The reason why people commit crime who are immigrants is not because of anything that's implicit within them. It's because they're immigrants in an uncontrolled immigration system.
And also interesting, we spoke about this, where people have preconceived prejudices. People are not welcoming and so on and so forth. People welcome that basis. Whilst you're on the line, because I know we're just about to finish
don't. Do you know what we're going to do? Why don't we keep Andrew on for a little bit as well and keep Karen on as well? And we'll just keep going because I think this is worth doing. So Karen, stay there. Lee in Manchester, we are also... Karen, stay there. Well, we're going to phone her back. Lee in Manchester, we're going to go to you as well. It's just this quite an interesting conversation.
Fantastic.
So we might as well keep it going. And by the way, we might do the front pages at some point. There they are. 0344 499 1000 if you want to get in touch. There are 2 slots available if you want to get in touch.
Matron.
That's virtual Ash.
At Andre J.P. Walker.
At Andrew Eborn, at Octopus TV. More platforms than Paddington.
Now, Andrew Eborn also sometimes speaks to Elon Musk.
Why is the camera still on Andrew?
No, it should be on me. We have great guests.
Back in a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is James Whale Unleashed with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and our guest co-host this evening is Andrew Ebon. Just to explain that James Whale obviously is ill with cancer. Tonight he was unable to do the show. What we did was we got him on for the first half hour via Zoom. We're always going to, as long as we can, we're going to put him on the show. Now, to be fair, you know, he's been, as Asher pointed out, he's been very bad before and has come back from the brink. The amazing thing about cancer, and I say this to somebody who has had a cancer sufferer in the family, in reality, if you keep going and wading through, then new technologies come online all the time. And there are people, I mean, there's a brilliant video on YouTube of a young lad who was a fan of Russell Howard, who was given 2 days to live, and a new treatment was found in the final 2 days.
And what I would also say, people in the public eye who speak so openly about it, and James has been brilliant. He does this fantastic podcast, Tales of the Whales.
Tales of the Whales.
We went, and it's over a year ago, we went to the party, which
that's right.
and we suddenly thought, oh, come on, we're going to do this and make that all make sense. And he's still here. And this is the tonic. Coming into the studio or doing it remotely, listening to the great people, coming on that sort of basis as well. One of the big things, and it's not a joke, one of the big things that Errol was speaking about now was his own cancer thing. He had prostate cancer.
No.
He had his prostate
Hasn't
out.
he got that now?
No, he's fortunately, it was about a year. It was the big revelation, and that was one of the things that we spoke about. What happened is he was speaking about the advances, the seismic advances in technology, in medicine, and so on and so forth. So things are changing all the time.
Yes, especially with AI working things out at multiple rates better than
my
humans.
pet subject, I want to put the AI into Britain, as I say, and you look at that. What he was also talking about is sharing information. So if you can do data, do it, anonymise it, so you don't know who it is, but share that information around the world. We'll do much better. Prevention is better than cure.
AI is also the favourite phrase of homosexuals in Manchester, isn't it? AI.
In Newcastle, it's called YI.
This is so good. It's so
okay. Now what we're going to do? We're going to go back to Karen, who's going to talk about Rotherham.
Yes.
But I think we do need you to give the list.
Can I give the list?
Just explain to everyone. We're saying what are the worst places in the United Kingdom,
and it's got everybody going. So Pete says Dunstable, Ali says Oldham, Tim says Wisbech or Wisbeck.
Wisbech.
I thought it was. Ian says Gurnos. Where's that?
Gurnos.
Where's that?
Give me the spelling, I'll do it.
Gurnos. If people know it, let us know why.
Gurnos.
Peter says Cornwall. Cornwall. We love Cornwall.
Some of it.
Andrew says Flint. Tony says Harlow. Another Tony says Parr. Where's Parr?
Cornwall. Chloe was talking about that.
Chloe's called. Sam says Luton. That's where some people are from. Tony says Scunthorpe, the word you can't say in between. I heard you saying that earlier. And even spelling it's not good. Tristan says Southend. We talked about Southend, but there's entertainment there as well. Martin says Whitley Bay. And Nikki, we should do this to music. Nikki says
we are doing it to music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're not the Hovish music. Do it to the Pot Pickers music.
We should do what you want.
Okay, so Gurnos.
Where is it?
In Merthyr Tydfil.
Oh, I love Merthyr Tydfil.
Well, that's bad in itself.
And here is a table of reasons why you might believe
go on, then.
that Gurnos is terrible.
You'll get beaten up by 10-year-olds.
Issue number 1, crime. High rates, including violence and organised crime and antisocial behaviour. Poverty, high unemployment and economic deprivation. Health, poor health outcomes and high sickness rates. Physical environment, run-down housing, litter, lack of amenities. Media image, negative national coverage, reinforcing bad reputation.
So we should change it. We should turn around.
It was a mining town, and now so you've got big, strong miners with no mining to do, so it all kicks off every Saturday night.
Well, the Welsh never lived down the mine.
They love it.
Why is it mainly brothers who was working here?
So we spoke about search engines beforehand. Which search engine was that?
That is Perplexity AI.
Oh, look at you. Right. So on Grok, which is brilliant. Good things about. Let's do this. Good things about Gurnos.
Okay, well,
no results. It's on that sort of basis. No, good things about Gurnos. So people who live there, they must know something good about it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there in the first place.
Let's not get too obsessed. Okay, Karen is in Rotherham.
Karen, still there.
Karen,
what a horrible voice.
Let's just.
I nearly went for a wee then because
thank you.
You can go while you're on the phone. We can't see anything.
We can. It's
we can hear it. We can hear it. Like.
Yeah. So I'm still here. Yeah.
So what should be done to make these towns better?
I think it's too late.
Really?
Oh, no,
so you
that's
think
so
we've got to give up on Britain?
No, don't give up.
I don't want to give up. I'm English.
Well, what are you going to do then?
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what the Americans did. They said basically, if you were native to the country, you could have your own reservation. Right? Let's do that. Let's have reservations. Come on.
I always think it's so easy for people
we'll have
to
a casino.
No, but that's what happened. It's so easy for people to complain about things, and things are really bad. But solutions, and I was going to say you ought to have a brilliant solution with a lovely voice, but you will have some suggestions as to how to make it better. What are they?
Get rid of the council.
Council, okay. Who would you vote for? I think you said Reform, didn't you?
That's unusual for this show.
I don't remember. I don't know whether I said it, but I probably would. But I'm not that.
Do we need mass deportations, Karen? We need to get about 15 million people out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get. Can I give some of the suggestions? Because I was looking about Gurnos and looking at this sort of things. What they said, there's good things as well as bad things. They have an unbreakable community spirit, is what it says here. They regeneration and investment. They have what's called the Compass Community Hub, and there's access to amenities. There are green spaces, modernisation, historical and cultural roots, resilient local businesses. So they've got some good stuff. What's the good stuff about your place?
Didn't sound very good.
There is a couple of lovely parks. Like
there you go.
Clifton Park.
Oh yes, Clifton's lovely. Yes, love that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
What's so good about that? What, the swings? I mean, what's so good about
roundabout?
It's got a Second World War memorial.
It has,
That sounds really depressing.
All right, Karen. Lee's been waiting a long
Thanks,
time.
Karen.
Lee is in Manchester. Lee, you're on talk.
Hi, Lee.
Hi, all right.
Yeah.
All right, kid.
Don't mock him.
No, I always say that to Lee.
Do you like it, Lee, when he does that?
You know Manchester, don't you?
Yeah, I know. I used to live up Manchester.
You know Ashton-under-Lyne?
Oh, God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ash-under-Lyne.
I mean, I walked through the other day.
Yes.
And there was, what's it called? Duvets.
Aye.
Duvets.
Sounds quite nice.
Posh.
On the street.
Shoes that work for the people.
Yeah.
You know, the homeless.
Yes.
Ashton is absolutely.
Well, let me tell you an amazing fact about Ashton, which is they put that City of Manchester Stadium in it, didn't they, or somewhere around that area. When they went to
it's a couple of miles away.
When they went to demolish the houses when they went to demolish the houses for the City of Manchester Stadium, they decided the house had no value whatsoever.
It's a bit further in.
Yeah, sure. But the point is, the houses were so worthless that they couldn't compensate people with an amount of money where they could buy a new house.
So it's another one with the broken windows and working on that sort of basis.
Longsight's pretty bad, isn't it? Longsight. Yeah.
I always think the most appropriately named. I think the most appropriately named place is Rusholme. Isn't it? Because
I did once have to rush home from there, being chased by some smackheads.
There's a song called "Black and White Town" by Gould.
Oh, sing it. Go on.
Yeah. And it's
not too much of it for copyright reasons.
It's about Black and White Towns.
Yes.
It's about how crap it is growing up in a bad town. It's about Stockport.
But can I ask this question though? Because is it bad because people need these duvets and it means there's a big homeless problem? Why are they moving there in the first place?
But it's Angela Rayner's constituency.
So they're moving because they like her.
They like the mint green bivouac.
No, that's
twice
on the line.
Aye.
Is Angela Rayner's constituency.
Right, we got that first time.
It's an absolute dump.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I've often wondered if you were a Labour candidate, like Conservative candidates, certainly when I was involved, they'd go, "Blooming heck, I'd love to be the MP for Tunbridge Wells. I'd love to be the MP for Windsor. Look at it, it's gorgeous."
Yes.
Do you reckon Labour candidates go, "Whoa, I found the right shithole. It's superb. Honestly. Oh, I'll tell you, this place. No, honestly, I'll tell you what, I've got ambitions.
Yes.
And, I went to Highgate School, I went to Oxford, right, and now I have found a shithole to end all shitholes. I'll tell you, it's superb. It's superb.
Really good.
Voting for her.
Yes.
It's not getting any better.
But what would you do though? Because
this
obviously
is the deputy.
Yeah.
This is a deputy
PM.
Yeah, we got it. All right,
Yeah.
Lee, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Lee's one of those people who will say what he's going to say.
Yes.
Whatever your response is.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I know a lot of people like that. They don't listen in debates anymore, which is interesting. Who we got now?
Okay, four lanes.
4 lanes.
Apparently, is poverty, sheep. Well, having sex with sheep, walking backwards, 6 toes.
Walking backwards with a sheep. Is that
many named.
Well, I've heard that can happen. Yeah.
Many named Cletus. Right. Okay.
What's that?
There's apparently 4 lanes.
People
is
can't
not
find
a great
it.
place. Ken is in London. Ken, you're on talk.
I've got a break.
Ken, we're going to a break. So, Andrew's off, and we're going to a break.
Thank you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and we've got Ken in London, so let's go straight to him. Ken, you're on Talk.
Yeah, see.
Oh, he's actually listening to the radio. That sounds good. Well, wait. Let's wait. We can wait for him to come in. I like this. Here we go.
Hello.
Hi, Ken. A bit late there, Ken. Actually listening to the show, which is unusual.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me on this radio. I appreciate you allow free speech.
It's the will of God.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But first, if you allow me, I'd like to correct something I said last night. I said that Jesus never went to Egypt, but I'm talking about in his ministry. But as a baby, he was taken into Egypt to escape Herod by his mother and his stepfather, Joseph. But in his ministry, he never ever went to Egypt. But I would like to
I thought that was an odd claim, but...
Hold on, Ken. Do you want to apologise to Yasmin? Yasmin, apologise. Ken, apologise to Yasmin. Yasmin?
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
Yasmin?
But I would like to talk about a very serious situation.
Hold on a minute. Ken, you're wrong there. He was doing
So you've changed your mind as well. You say he wasn't in Egypt.
Oh, this was...
what a kerfuffle.
This was torture last night.
Let me just say, he was doing his ministry in Egypt and he went back to the synagogue at 13-year-old and was teaching it in Israel.
He done no ministry in Egypt, Jasmine. It's in the...
There's only one way to sort this out.
In Egypt, he also did a miracle and brought a baby back to life, and that was in the holy book of the Muslims. So
that's the Quran. The Quran's nonsense. The Quran is not the word of God. But listen, I want to talk about a serious thing here. I want to talk about the situation in Hamas. I want to talk about the situation in Gaza.
Okay.
Right now, not
he
one
went to Egypt to learn the mysteries of the temple of Ptolemy.
Actually, Gaza used to be part of Egypt. But anyway, carry on, Ken. What do you want to say?
Jasmine, please be quiet. Please, I want to speak about Gaza.
You be quiet. You be quiet with your lies. You got it wrong last night and you can't even say sorry.
I never got it wrong. Jesus never ever ministered in Egypt in the Bible.
He did, and he did miracles in Egypt.
That's in the Quran. The Quran is not the word of... The Quran is not the word of God.
Who found Jesus standing with a wand on the archaeology.
The Quran is nonsense. The Quran is nonsense. Let me talk about...
You can go to prison for that.
Please. Let me talk
Let me just say something now. You're very
sellotape in my face.
You believe, and a lot of people love to know knowledge. But anyway, I want to just say something to Andre and ask.
This lady is a witch. I don't want to talk to her.
You know,
I don't talk to witches. Listen, about Gaza here, this is important. There's been never one headline from a politician or any newspaper or television calling for Hamas to surrender and move out of Gaza.
No, you're right, there hasn't, yeah.
You need to strip off, Ken, and dance like the Garden of Eden, naked in front of God, and see you feel like you anymore.
Ash, why do you bring this lady?
I'm not doing anything, man. I'm just looking
Keep this witch out of my... I'm trying to discuss a serious situation. I don't want to talk to witches.
Okay.
Listen, in Hamas, in Gaza...
She's using witchcraft, I can't stop.
I'm giving you the same treatment you give me when you said I was satanic. You said I'm the devil's disciple. You said loads of negative things. If I was like that, I'd be in New York in a penthouse with some gorgeous fellas enjoying myself if he had that much power of the Antichrist.
Okay, Jasmine, thanks for your conversation. Now, listen, getting back to Gaza. This is important. Nobody is telling us, protesting for...
The other thing is, as well, this is something for a people who are struggling in an area where the town is really...
Dear.
Calling the angels...
I don't talk to witches. Now,
right, can we stop for 1 minute? Whoever is doing that with the controls, turning one of them up and then turning the other one up, right?
Can we
please stop? Stop doing that. It's not hilarious, right? It's not hilarious. Right? Okay. No. Can we talk to Ken about Gaza, please?
Yes. You're right. They're not mentioning it, are they, Ken? And they're not mentioning the hostages. Go and do a ceasefire, they're saying, but they don't mention I'll release the hostages.
Never. Listen, Ash. This is a serious situation.
Of course, it's incredibly serious. Yeah.
There has never been one headline. You know they could stop this war tomorrow. If Hamas surrendered and left Gaza, there would be no more killing.
Exactly.
Israel are wanting peace. Israel wants peace for their nation. Yeah. They are fighting for their lives.
Exactly.
The Muslims want to exterminate them, but not one politician, not one media has ever stated Hamas must surrender and leave Gaza.
Because they're all behind Hamas, aren't they? The UN, a lot of these NGOs, they're actually behind. They're supporting him secretly, like in a weaselly way.
This leader of the UN, this man is the devil's agent, the man who speaks for the UN.
Do you believe that the UN is doing the work of the devil, Ken?
Yes.
I mean, I've got to be honest.
No, I mean, they are working with Hamas because with this this aid that was given out by the Americans, it was really frustrating Hamas because they couldn't control it. And actually, the UN have said any NGOs who help the Americans, because obviously the UN are on Hamas's side, they actually were on the raid, the UN should be a prescribed terror organisation. They've threatened the NGOs if they help the Americans get the food to the Gazans. I mean, that is demonic. The UN is demonic.
Correct, Ash, correct. Listen, what's happening here, there is no mention either about Egypt. Egypt have got a big border with Gaza. They don't allow the Palestinian Arabs into Egypt. The Arab nations surrounding Gaza don't help the Palestinians.
Well, Gaza used to be Egypt. The reason they don't say it's Egypt now because they want to call it Palestine so it stays as a thorn in the side. There was no Palestine. It was Egypt. If they would have won the war in the 60s or 1948, that would have become Egypt and the West Bank would have become it would have been Jordan. This is a made-up thing to keep it as, this is Palestine. It was just Palestinian mandate under our lot, and the Romans called it Philistine when they left.
But listen, there's no offers for any Muslim country to support the refugees in Gaza. No money, no help.
Why are the women and children there? They could have been evacuated like we did, like any sensible civilised country does. You move your women and children out of war zone, they actually put them in harm's way so they can get good photos of them. And
what the Hamas are doing is they're killing people who speak against them. Right now in Palestine, many Palestinians want the Hamas to leave, but they get killed in their silence. Correct. What Hamas have done purposely, they've placed their command posts under hospitals, under schools, under buildings, and they know that when the Israelis attack them, they will kill the population, and that's.
And then the UN and the BBC play along with it and go, oh, they've bombed a hospital, when they know full well it's a military target because Hamas are operating under there. And doctors are actually working for Hamas and pretending they're not there. The UN give over their compounds to Hamas. I mean, we all know what's going on now. It's all very clear.
Ash, the problem I'm pointing out here is the demonic media disregard for the facts that Hamas are the problem. Hamas have caused this war. If they surrendered tomorrow, if they put down their arms, the war would stop. There would be no more.
Israel have even offered them to leave Hamas. They can say, look, you can leave now. They don't even want to arrest them. Just get out and release hostages. But they won't. They won't.
Here, listen, I go to all these protests, and there's evil abounds, is manifest in these protests. It's total anti-Semitism, and all those who support Hamas, they're foolish. And these homosexuals who support Hamas, they're foolish. We are in a state in this nation when lies are being publicly declared from the government. The media are woefully refusing to demand that Hamas leave the nation and stop the war. Nobody, not one headline anywhere has ever mentioned it.
Well, talkTV do.
Serious.
Yeah.
This is serious business.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's a reasonable point. I mean, I think it is fair to say that what Ken said is not completely correct, and I'll explain why. Because I think there are voices in the media that do recognise that this support for Hamas, whether it be the UN, whether it be Qatar, and when we're talking about homosexuals supporting Hamas, lest we forget. And I don't want to have a go at anybody or cast aspersions. I don't say that the Crown Prince of Qatar is gay. I've never said that, but he is banned from a gay nightclub for fighting. He claimed he didn't know it was a gay nightclub, even though its name was GAY, which is the spelling of gay. Is it? But anyway, but the reality is, Qatar is a friend to Hamas. The reality is the UN is a friend to Hamas. And what I want to say more than anything else is you can complain about Jews all day. You can complain about the Israeli Defence Force all day. And I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with criticising Israel for that ludicrous security fence that didn't work. But the number one group of victims are Palestinians, and they are victims of Hamas. And I'll tell you something we've discovered, and Ash and I were talking about this last night. The reason why Gaza is so poor is because of the amount of aid we give it. Now, that might seem counterintuitive, but aid has emboldened the thieves and criminals and pests that have infested that area.
And it's enriched them. They're billionaires, their leaders. Why is that?
Could I add something to that?
Yes, go on, Ken.
Can I add something to that, if you don't mind? Yeah. The people who are complaining about the deaths in Gaza, if they were genuinely, sincerely concerned about the deaths of the people in Gaza, which is terrible, they would loudly call for Hamas to surrender. They would unite together and protest against Hamas.
And they complain about the Yemeni kids, and they complain about the kids in Syria, and they complain about all the other kids, which is multiple times what people have been killed.
But Ken, we were talking today about the worst towns in the country, and it's very clear that people were talking about it in terms of where there's been uncontrolled immigration. What I thought was extraordinary is on Remembrance Sunday, which we take incredibly seriously, many of us, and I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, but many of us, that will be the only occasion in the year that they go to church, apart from perhaps Christmas and Easter, but nonetheless, you know, that is important. When Remembrance Sunday, when the Remembrance Weekend happened, people in this country, one would assume from recent migrant communities, felt that the Christian services, the armistice services, should have been abolished in favour of protesting against Israel. And my point is this, I just worry that that part of the problem that we're complaining about with these towns is that Islam has become the more significant force,
Correct.
the respected force, the force that the council wants to project and protect. Whereas actually ordinary Christianity it doesn't get a look in anymore.
We've got ethnic voting
You're
now
dead
as well.
right, Andre. You're exactly right here. But let me just say this, if you don't mind. I want to speak to everybody here listening. I'll tell you this. The Bible declares that Israel are under a covenant with the God of the Bible. Israel will not be defeated. They'll never be destroyed by any Jew haters, Jew, Muslim or Gentile. King Jesus, the Messiah of Israel, is coming soon to fight on behalf of the people of Israel. It's in Zechariah 12, 13, 14. This is coming, friends. I am not a madman. I'm telling you. The irrefutable fact is recorded in the Bible that Messiah is coming to fight on behalf of Israel against the whole world. The whole world is going to turn against Israel, but God is going to defend his covenant people. Hallelujah. And the Christians pray for the Jewish people.
And everything has come to pass that has been written in the Bible so far, so it's doing all
It's in
right.
the Bible, Ash. You read it tonight,
Yasmin,
Okay.
was Jesus in Egypt?
Ken, thank you so much. Yasmin, you've listened to all that. What have you got to say this morning?
Well, first of all, there's three things I'd like to say. Anybody living in an area that's really negative energies, go out, make your own holy water in whatever deity you choose, and sprinkle it in the area where people gather, drink, have sex or whatever in the street or whatever.
So go to an area where people are dogging and throw down your own...
And make a wet patch.
Make a wet
Well, I was working at Tesco one day and there was a dogging thing going on in the car park. It was quite unusual, really. Anyway...
But normally, surely dogging is a positive thing.
If it makes people happy to do it...
Well, I mean, they don't go because it makes them unhappy, does it? I mean,
That's
if
a
it
good
made
point,
them
They're all
unhappy...
doggers, I mean, mainly happy. You
Anyway,
don't see a sad dogger, do you? When you think about it.
Sprinkle holy
You never see an angry dogger.
No, they're always got a beaming smile.
They've got beaming lights on.
Yeah.
And sprinkle it outside wherever there's any problems, where people are gathering, drinking, or drugging or whatever. The other thing you can do, which is really good for everybody at this time, get some mint, M-I-N-T.
They're not to spell mint.
Put it in a pot. Put 3 coins at the bottom, copper side up, 3 pennies.
Copper side
What do you mean? They don't have 2 sides.
And every time you touch that mint, money will come in abundantly. The other thing...
But all none of your... So Yasmin, I have never done any of your spells, but they don't really work, do they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, but can I just tell you something, Andre? Remember last year when you were on with Danielle, I told you were moving in the spring. You didn't believe me, and it happened.
Ken, have you done the mint trick, Ken?
Ken,
have you done the mint trick?
Listen, I've told you before, don't allow a witch to...
Oh, sorry, yeah. Sorry, Jasmine, carry on.
Andre, you need to really, really work with the element of water, because water is emotionally calming and rejuvenating. And you do look younger. I must admit, you do look younger. Ash, everybody keeps going on about you cutting your hair. Don't cut your hair. Because remember Samson...
Who's been going on about him cutting his hair?
Samson lost his power when he had his hair cut. That's why you have an energy to keep your hair long. So don't cut
But didn't Samson
again.
bring down the temple when he had his hair cut? So he must have been pretty strong to do that. Ken, was he strong after he had his hair cut? Because he did bring the temple down.
Well, Samson fell through lust of Delilah, but his hair grew back and his strength came back.
Oh, I see. There, his hair grew back, Yasmin.
Yes, but listen, Ash, trust me when I say keep your hair long. The other
Keep your hair on.
The other thing I've got to say to people, on a Thursday, get some ground cinnamon and blow it from left to right outside your front door, and that will bring money in.
Why
Sprinkle
Thursdays?
Ground cinnamon in.
Why on a Thursday, though? What?
Thursday is Thursday, and it's to do with lightning and things coming in lightning.
Ken, you got any cinnamon? Try this on Thursday.
Listen, Jasmine, you need to turn to Jesus. You're deceived by the devil, Jasmine, and I'll say that in love for your soul. I'm not against you. I'm against the devil.
if women want to have a male partner or men want to have a male partner...
Do you want a male partner?
What you do is wear red knickers.
Have you tried
when
it?
you go out, and I promise you it will get the men right in front of you.
Get the copper bottom up,
yeah, but with respect. First of all, Yasmin, first of all, I don't believe that Ken owns any red knickers, but in any case, he doesn't want a male partner, so why?
You could sprinkle water over him.
Female and male partners wear red knickers. The other thing about Ken, he needs to get naked, run around with a daisy, and just...
Are you up for that, Ken? You up for running around naked at Garden of Eden? Do you remember you had those aroused men on bicycles riding around you?
No, Ash, remember you're talking to a witch and there's demonic power there.
No, sorry, I forgot then. I forgot myself.
You're allowing a witch to speak over you. You bring demonic influence in your life. I'm warning you in love.
Okay, thank you to Yasmin and Ken, the most bizarre comedy double act I've ever come across.
I think they came to an agreement, didn't they?
More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk, and this is the James Whale Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. And I guess we're going to go straight to the callers. Jordan is in London. Jordan, you're on Talk.
Justin,
sorry.
Yeah, Jordan's in the Middle East.
Good evening.
5,000 men have entered Jordan in the Middle East. It's a war.
You mentioned earlier...
Yeah, Peter Andre went there, didn't he?
Yes, girl.
You mentioned earlier about Frank Sidebottom. I think it may have been Andrew who said, well, or somebody said, maybe Ash, well, someone could just pick up another paper-mache head and just carry on the legacy and earn some money out of it. I don't know if you remember, but Selfridge's department store, the matter's resolved now, so it's okay to talk about it. But they actually used mannequins in their shop front windows, and it was those same paper-mache heads. And Frank Sidebottom's estate, I can't remember the chap's real name, actually sued Selfridges, and there was actually an out-of-court settlement. Yeah, this is about 15 years ago now.
2010, yeah, you're bang on, yeah.
It was something like that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was towns and cities that are in a dire strait. I worked for some time in a city called Sheffield.
Yeah.
And it's a poor, rundown state, and it's always the bridesmaid. It has loads of money spent on it, but it never quite gets there. There's always something to pull the rug from beneath it. In the early 90s, it had an out-of-town shopping centre built, the Meadowhall shopping centre, which pretty much took all the business and trade out of Sheffield city centre itself, and also Rotherham. One of the earlier callers mentioned Rotherham. That's my nomination, Sheffield. I don't know if either of you...
So you're from Sheffield, but you moved to London, did you?
Well, no, I'm from Leeds originally, but I moved to London. Then
You're a successful northerner.
I will tell you, I went out one night in, I think it was Sheffield, when I was a student, and the nightclub was called Bed. So I got into a taxi and I went, excuse me, can you take me to bed? Get out! Get out! How dare you! He says to me. I said, no, the nightclub is called Bed. Oh, right, okay, fine. Can you take me to bed?
Yeah, Sheffield,
no, I cannot take you to bed. Dirty
It used
bastard.
to be quite a buzzing place, didn't it, Sheffield?
Sheffield Student Union's brilliant.
Yeah, you're quite right. And it used to have some club nights on there, which I went to myself when I was working there. But yeah, I mean, I think the trouble with Sheffield is that it covers such a vast expanse that all the populations all spread out.
Yeah. I've got to be honest with you. In terms of nightclubbing, I think the worst town in the United Kingdom is Portree on the Isle of Skye.
Well, in the 80s, there were 35,000 clubs. Now, across the country, there's 1,000 nightclubs.
Yeah, because they're all on their apps, aren't they? They're going, how big's your thing, and show me that, and all that sort of caper.
I mean. Yeah.
I mean...
So that era's gone.
I don't like internet dating. I'll tell you why, because I always think I'm better in person. Because if you look at a photo of me, that's not my win. My win is talking to you. And even that's not that successful.
What do you do, Justin, then, that you were a successful northerner that was able to come down to London, the big lights of London? What do you do?
Oh, so I'm a lawyer, I'm a solicitor, I'm a commercial litigator, I deal in contentious private work. But I had a training contract in London, and I worked here for a time, and then I wanted to get back further to my mum, who was from Leeds, and I did, but I missed London. But
where was your training contract? Can you tell us?
Yeah, it was a firm. It was a firm called Steptoe and Johnson. It was called Rackerson back in the day.
Steptoe and Son.
I know what you're going to say.
You dirty old man.
Yeah, exactly.
Steptoe and Son, the solicitors. Ragbound.
Precisely the point. But it was an American firm. The Americans didn't quite realise the connotations linked to the word.
There was a company that launched called Nonce Finance.
Really?
I'm not joking. Yeah, American fintech firm, and they launched it, and they said because they hadn't realised quite how bad that was in the UK, so they said that they were going to soldier on, but they decided that they wouldn't, and they did change the name because they just said in the UK.
Is AI going to take over your job? Apparently, it's white collar jobs. AI is going to take over law. It already are automatic processes.
Yeah. I don't know about that, Ash, to be honest. I mean, it's one. Artificial intelligence is one thing, but real intelligence is something else. I have a mate who works as an accountant in a law firm dealing with trust matters, and they started to use this thing. I think it's called Claude AI.
Yeah, Claude, yeah.
Yeah, and
apparently it pretended. They said switch off, and it pretended it switched off, but didn't. It's already deceiving humans.
Yeah. Well, and also they inputted a question and the same question twice, but just switched a word. Ultimately, it was the same question, but worded differently.
But also, I think it was Claude threatened people with blackmail if they turned them on. And they said, "But you're having an extramarital affair." I can tell you, it started blackmailing the humans.
It's pretty scary. Yeah,
it is.
I've got to be honest with you, Justin. I was in the pub earlier today with a friend of mine from politics, and he said to me, how many seats? He said, I believe there are 6 seats in the country where the Conservatives lost them in 1997 but held them at the last election. And I said, well, OK, I'll get Tatton straight away because Martin Bell won in 1997, Leicester East, and there were a few others like Romford. Anyway, but then we went through. He said you're missing the big one, Newark, Robert Jenrick. Okay, fine. But what was interesting then was after we'd finished playing around, I said, yeah, but there will be places where there's a percentage of an old constituency. I asked AI to make a list of seats that the Conservatives lost in 1997 and won at the last election, where 60% of the electorate were in the old seats. And I tell you, it answered absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. It was simply the list it supplied to me was just wrong. It was wrong.
Oh, there you go. You see, I don't think we're all doomed. I don't think it's the end of the world.
Not yet, but in a couple of years, yeah.
Well, in a couple of years. Honestly, I really, it's as good as we make it. I mean, humans.
It'll start making itself soon.
I've got to be honest with you. I mean, I remember once whenever I used to go on an automated system, I used to ask it what the difference between Wahhabi and Wasabi was. Well, one's a type of Islam, the other's a type of mustard. But actually, I mean, I asked once, what would I be better having, concert tickets or HIV? And AI responded by saying...
Depends what concert.
It said, well, they're two very different things. Here are the advantages of having HIV.
They are very different.
And the reason was because what the point I was trying to make was, if you gave it a proposition that it didn't have in the database, it would really struggle. So, what is the difference between a toenail and the Large Hadron Collider? It used to be impossible.
But you say it's how good we make it. You can't back down. The Chinese and Russians will keep doing it. No one's going to go, we'll limit ours and they can take over the world. So we're all going to hell in a handcart once it decides we don't need humans anymore. Can you save this bloke's marriage? He's worried about his marriage.
That is Ali.
Yeah, she's all right, actually. Yeah, she's all right. Don't get rid of you married. Try and stay together. But, you know, it's your choice. We were trying to save his marriage. Think that worked? Yeah.
No.
So what else, Justin? Is that it? Is it anything else?
Oh, hang on. Boring dump, Leatherhead.
Don't say that to Justin.
I used to work there at Unilever.
Leatherhead.
Leatherhead.
I remember I had a lecturer at once, and he used to lecture to some foreign students, and he used to talk about writing letters to registered office on letterhead paper, but they didn't quite understand what he was saying, and they used to be writing down Leatherhead because they were international students. I thought it was funny at the time. Maybe
I've got to be honest with you. I went to one of my first seminars at Royal Holloway College, and I will say that there was a very nice Japanese girl who was talking about John Major's election. And she just said when John Major lost his election, but she didn't say it like that, and we just all. I mean, she was so embarrassed, and she couldn't understand why everyone was laughing at her. But it was dreadful. John Major lost his election. It was dreadful.
Right, well, that sounds like we've come to the end of our lolly. Should we take a little breaking?
I think so. And we're back in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. Were you looking at the front pages?
Yeah, we've got to do tomorrow's papers today, although it's already this morning. Let's start with the Daily Star. Car was weapon, that's about the trial in Liverpool. Gas firm finds, BBC files win, and tears of a clown. And this story is it's no fun for clowns, as Gen Z don't like red noses and custard pies, but comical politicians still have us rolling in the aisles.
I've got to say, I loved what Philomena Kunk said when she said, comic relief is a day when celebrities walk out with big smiles on their face and red noses, just like they've come out of the Gaucho Club toilets.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's actually true. The Daily Telegraph, William, I want to bring about change, real change. You're not there to be changed. You're there to just be a sort of stable pillar like your grandmother was. Foreigners claim £1 billion a month in benefits. Well, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, that's really going to do a lot of good. Pressure builds on Starmer to sack law chief over Nazi smear. That's his mate. He used to work in the same law firm, who represents Britain and the Chagos Islands at the same time, but there's no conflicts of interest there. Grooming gangs, PM can't dodge rape inquiry. That's Kemi Badenoch saying that. And father in court over Liverpool. All right, we talked about that. Get real about US abandoning Ukraine. British and French officials are drawing up plans for a coalition of the willing. Anyway, that's all.
Hey, look! No, can I just show you this before anything? There's a guide to spotting tits this summer on the front page of the Mirror, and just to explain what that is.
They're great tits.
Inside, they've got a bird spotting pull-out. If what you're interested in is viewing tits this summer, then that is the way you're going to do it.
That's a great tip. BBC dumps win, Strictly bombshell. I don't know what that is. Daily Mirror. Wyn Evans has been axed by the... He's the guy who's... Go compare! Wyn Evans, the advert man, has been axed by... I didn't know he worked at the BBC after the scandals that dogged his time on Strictly. The singer, once grabbing dancer Katya Jones's waist, revealed bosses have not renewed the contract for his Wales radio show. Oh, he had a Wales radio show. So, if you like the Win Go Compare radio show, you're up without a paddle. The Daily Telegraph, well, I talked about that. We've just done that one. The Sun, Fury at treats for a beast. And this is in the Sun. Jail officers must serve killer chocks. This is Axel Rudy Cabana. Southport monster Axel Rudy Cabana can still buy jail treats such as Maltesers and McCoys despite attacking a guard with boiling water. Well, that's nice, isn't it?
It's human rights, though, isn't it? Because we've got Richard Harmer's chums out and about. They're only defending rights for him, so you have rights as well.
The triple killer has them, and he life-changing injuries for other girls, has been served by officers in his cell at London's Belmarsh prison. A source said it's made some of them angry and upset. They shouldn't be living like that. They shouldn't have luxuries, you know.
He shouldn't be living at all, actually. I support the
Taylor buys her life's work for £360 million. Imagine going out to Woolies and buying all those singles. The Guardian, Britain facing a new era of security threat. Have they only just cottoned on? Down to people like this that were in this problem. Claims Musk used drug during White House role. Allegations world's richest man used ketamine and ecstasy while he served as advisor to Trump. Well, he came up with some good policies. Breast cancer checks could be given to women in their 30s. Major study recommends widespread examinations. The Daily Mail, How Not to Be a Political Wife by Sarah Vine. Raw and filtered, painfully honest, the political memoir Westminster's dreading. And PM told to sack legal chief.
I wonder what she's going to say about Michael Gove. And why the marriage broke down in his...
We're all going to find out,
Oh, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
PM told to sack...
No, should we do it this way? We'll go, I wonder what everyone doesn't know about Michael Gove, eh? Wonder what it is. Wonder what's going to come out about him. We don't know.
PM told to sack legal chief over Nazi slur. Keir Starmer is under mounting pressure.
We don't know what's going to come out. Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to come out.
To sack his Attorney General for likening right-wing British politicians to Nazis. Unbelievable and pathetic slur. Like Emily Maitlis the other day with Rupert Everett. No, not Rupert Everett.
Rupert Lowe.
No, but they're like toddlers now. They're just saying racist, Nazi. They're really grasping at like straws now because they know they've lost.
Homophobic Tory scum. That's what they used to say at the NUS. He's going, Andre Walker may make a few jokes, but he's a sexist, racist, homophobic Tory scum. That's what they always used to say.
Cabinet ministers and Labour MPs turned on Lord Hermer after he invoked 1930s Germany as he criticised the Tories and Reform UK for saying Britain should quit institutions such as the European Convention of Human Rights. And Michael Mosley, tragic that they found him dead, didn't they? He just got sunstroke, they think, and fell down and just didn't have water. Michael Mosley's widow's heartbreaking first interview is in there. The FT weekend, NatWest back to full private ownership. Yeah, they paid us back minus £10 billion after we bailed them out in the credit crunch, so that's been all right.
And by the way, we were paying bonuses for executives at NatWest, and they were going, but we need to make sure they do good work so we can get all of our money back. Didn't happen.
Minus £10 billion. Japanese football bootmakers Mizuno and Asics jump out of kangaroo leather. So you'll lose that springiness now in your boots and you won't be able to jump as high in the crosses. The Times, I'm 61 and got my best body ever. Here's how I did it. Don't know who that is. And why I joined the 7,500 alpha male dating boot camp. Don't know who that is. Defence pledge by Labour. Budget rise to 3% of GDP is no longer an ambition but a certainty by 2034, says Defence Secretary. But aren't we joining up with the EU now? And they're stupid,
Hang on, the Times have also reviewed rotisserie chickens, so Gaza will be pleased.
Yeah, no, it's good. And Don McCullen returns to Syria at 89.
Well, he won't find much because they've wrecked the place, haven't they?
Let's go to Cindy in Michigan. Is Michigan a terrible town?
Well, it's terribly boring, I'll tell you that. Well, where I am, I'm in the South.
Well, Detroit's a bad town, isn't it? I heard that's a bad place.
No, it's coming up.
Oh, is it all right now?
It's actually, it's all right now. Well, there are certain parts that are really bad.
Yeah.
And I've had my husband take me on a tour of those places.
Yeah.
They're quite bad. As I wanted to see, is it like the movies or not? Yeah. And I'll tell you, those parts are exactly like the movies.
Dangerous.
Like you see it.
I remember in the Credit Crunch there, you could buy houses for 20 quid with beautiful big houses, wooden floors and everything.
Yeah, but no.
But you might get killed, that's the thing. Yeah.
The parts that I ventured to see, that I saw with my own eyes, I saw busted out windows, people hanging out that didn't belong. You wanted to lock your doors and stay inside your car. Yeah, but when I went to go like downtown area, it was very beautiful. It was done up, remodeled, remade. Yeah, built to the T. It's ready for tourism. But yeah, no, I where I live, it's quite boring. Like, and I wanted to say to you guys are like medicine to me. So I thank you. My hat's off to you every week of the job that you both do.
Like what type of medicine?
Great.
Fantastic. Or what? What sort of medicine are we?
No, not
antidepressants.
Valium, like sanity medicine. You know, like laughter. Laughter just takes everything away. Problems, what you're thinking about at the moment, just life. You know what I mean?
What time is it there? About 7 in the evening or something?
It's going on 8 o'clock.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Because it's like nearly 1 in the morning here. So what, are you going out tonight? I mean, it's, Friday night, is it? Yeah.
No, it's Friday night, but there's nothing to do. There's just, nothing.
Have you noticed people don't go out as much since... people don't go out as much since COVID and that. Have you noticed that? Or because of online stuff, they're staying in at home?
There's plenty of bars, like local bars, where you see the same people, the same thing. It's little and quaint.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to fix this. Right.
Where I was grown up and raised was in San Diego, California, and that you had bars where you could dance. And there was tons of people where you could get lost in the crowd. That's what I like. I like the craziness and the madness of that.
But San Diego now has gone all lefty, hasn't it? And it's terrible, isn't it, what's gone on there? Well, California and New York.
It has gone lefty. It has.
Used to be right-wing. Used to do a simulcast with Roger Hedgecock, the mayor of San Diego.
I was a little girl. I was a little girl during that time.
Do you listen to us?
Yeah.
This used to be drive time in San Diego on Kogo, which is where LaDonna Harvey did the breakfast show. Yeah, she did.
I remember Kogo, most definitely.
Isn't it still going, Kogo?
I don't know, because I don't live there anymore, but I was listening to 91X. Do you remember 91X?
No, I don't know, man.
No, okay, that was the new wave radio station.
Oh, you were into that because you look like Cyndi Lauper. Your name's, I think you might be Cyndi Lauper.
I am. No, but actually, speaking of Cyndi Lauper, I wanted to talk about how Boy George broke my heart.
Why? What happened?
This is kind of a couple of weeks ago. It's old news, but he tweeted back.
He didn't tie you to a radiator, did he?
No.
No, it's actually a very serious matter.
J.K. Rowling that she hates men because
you only just found out he's gay, Boy George, 2 weeks ago.
No, I never. Well, when I was 12, he was my first crush.
Really?
My very first crush, yes.
Oh, I remember he was big in the States, wasn't he? Do you remember? I mean, it's funny because Boy George and George Michael were both massive pop stars and both lived together, both gay in Hampstead. It was quite funny. There was a great rivalry.
But George was in the closet, you know.
Boy George never came out. It was so obvious, you know. He couldn't really deny it.
Yeah, you didn't. He didn't have to do any guesswork there. But, well, I saw an interview with him recently, and he said that he could go both ways, but he's mainly gay. Whatever, But yeah,
didn't Boy George famously say he'd rather have tea than sex?
Yeah. Well, there's some nice teas out.
He'd had problems.
He made a great cup of tea, though.
He made a problem. He fed it to anyone who was connected to a radiator.
Well, my second crush was Morrissey. Now.
Morrissey, yeah.
Yeah, but he's obnoxious.
My second crush.
He's obnoxious communist.
So?
He's an obnoxious communist.
Oh, I don't know his politics.
Well, no, actually, I saw him speaking. What he was saying about multiculturalism was actually bang on. He said multiculturalism has just made every city the same. When we didn't have multiculturalism, you could go to Tokyo, you could go to London, and they all had their own cultures. That was now that we've got every town's the same all over the world, and they think that's a great thing. But actually, that's not. That's just one splurge. Everyone's the same. So he's made a good point there. Apart from the other stuff, he's a bit funny, like.
So Cindy, somebody's asked, do you like Pontiac? Didn't it have that Pontiac Sky Dome or whatever it's called?
It's a car, isn't it? It's like General Motors.
No, Pontiac is both a town and a car. But they had the Pontiac Silver Dome where they used to have the wrestling, and now it's basically lost the town of Pontiac all of its money.
Oh no! Well, I only like.
I'm sorry, Pontiac. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, Pontiac. You're so lazy with your T's. It's Pontiac.
It's Pontiac. Pontiac.
I remember I was in America once, and I said, "Can I have a glass of water?" And he went, "What?" And he went, "Water." He went, "What?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Water." And he went, "Oh, water." Yeah, water. Yeah, water.
My husband's father used to work for Ford. I think it was Ford. Oh, Chrysler. I'm sorry, Chrysler.
So you forgot who you worked for.
Yeah. Well, Detroit, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, look, we got Shell. Let's talk to both of them. Let's get Cindy. Shell, are you there? Shell in Birmingham.
Yeah, I didn't know if you said hello. I didn't know if you were saying Pontiac or Pontins.
Pontiac, yeah. We'll say hello to Cindy in Michigan. This is Michelle in Birmingham.
Oh, Michelle.
Can you have a chat and do the last minute of the show, please?
Yeah. Oh, I used to have a Cindy when I was little. Please don't sing the Beatles, timid. Please don't sing Michelle My Belle, even though it's amazing. But when you were saying Pontiac, I thought you were saying Pontins.
Yeah, Pontins was great. I remember Pontins in Blackpool. Fantastic. It's all derelict now.
But I've never been to Blackpool. But Cindy, you should come over to the UK. You should come over to the East Midlands.
Well, don't encourage her.
No, the problem is, no, can I be totally honest with you? The problem is we have had viewers and callers come over before, and they have turned out to be nutters.
She is coming over.
If I'm being honest.
She's coming in November.
There is a risk. No, my favourite was when we got